Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the, I was going to say annual F1 Word pre-Christmas stream, but I don't think we've done this for about 2 years. So the every now and again pre-Christmas F1 Word stream. Hope you're all doing well this fine evening wherever you are. I'm sure lots of you have been busy with other things this afternoon. A few happy people in the chat. I will just say very quickly, I've put it in the chat. Let's keep it light. Let's keep it nice and chill tonight. This is pre-Christmas. We're just going to have a nice little waffle, a little bit of fun a little bit later as well. Take lots of your questions. Just enjoy it. Any trouble? And there'll be trouble. I don't know what that was about. I've turned into my dad. Anyway, that makes no sense either. Tonight, we're going to be talking about some of our F1, favourite F1 memories. Jonty's picked one out, Dan's picked one out, and I've picked one as well. Of course, I'll read some of yours. There's some in the community section over on YouTube as well, and there's one on Twitter, I think, too, so I'll check that one out. We will also then be revealing who you voted for as your driver of the season. You've got about 20 minutes if you want to put a vote in. A lot of people seem to think they know which way it's going, both first and last. I can tell you, you're probably 50% right, but not the other 50%. There's a twist. I swear there's a twist. We might try and get in a naughty or nice list as well, depending how we're doing for time, because we want to get lots of your questions as well before we end the stream. This is the final stream of the year as well. So, as always, thank you for your support this year. Looking forward to this one. We'll do that a little bit later, though. Yeah, I think I'm just going to hop into it. I just had a message from Dan, which always worries me with Dan. He's probably telling me he's drunk or something. So he'll be here soon. No worries, he will be here soon. So let's hop into Discord and say a very good evening to Jonty. It's been a while, mate. This is getting unacceptable. How you doing? Hello.
You sound a little bit robotic for me.
Do I? It's probably my internet connection. I'm a bit, yeah. I'm sure chat will tell me if it's all gone wrong.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. But yeah, let's have a nice, pleasant one. Just looking back over the season and see what was nice about it, because there was some stuff that was a bit meh.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's why I kind of want to get to a naughty or nice list if we can, because there's some interesting twist you could put in there if we pick out some drivers. But we'll get to that very, very shortly. I think I'm actually going to ask you a question that I usually ask you when we do these Christmas streams. Are you ready for Christmas, mate? Only a week away.
Yeah, I suppose. I'm never bloody ready for it.
Who is? It's the same day every single year, yet it still seems to catch us all out. Quite astonishing, that one. I could never understand it.
Yeah, the date doesn't change. We should be used to this by now. I've been through enough of them.
Yeah, it's not like Easter, is it? Easter. No, let's not get into that. Oh, Easter can do one. I think we'll start with F1 memories today, because that is kind of one of the headlines of the stream. Give people a chance to vote for their driver of the season. You can, by the way. The link is down below if you want to get a vote in the next 20 minutes or so, if you've not already. And I think I'll kick it off, because usually I make you and Dan suffer as the leads on this stream. So I'll jump in there first, I think, with my memory. And I think my memory probably isn't going to come as too much of a surprise, because when I decided to do this stream and kind of pick this topic, I was umming and ahhing how hard is it going to be to pick a favourite F1 moment, and it took me about 2 seconds to pick one. So for me, probably no great surprise. It is Japan 2000. Michael Schumacher finally getting that championship over the line for Ferrari. I cannot put into words, or I'm going to try to, because this stream would be terrible if I didn't, but it's so hard to put into words just how frustrating and heartbreaking and crushing those years were in not so much 1996, because the car was not great, was it? So it wasn't really in the championship fight, but 97, yes, I know, Jerez, bad, and all of that business, but still missing out on a title, so close to it as well. 1998, taking on the conquering McLaren, that stunning car in 1998, just missing out, stalling on the line, and then the puncture a little bit later on, just as he's built us up to hope and pray once again. Then 1999, he breaks his leg, comes back and tries to help Irvine win the championship. 2000, twists and turns, even stalling on the grid. Not stalling on the grid, sorry, losing out on the grid to Mika Hakkinen, who jumped him off the line. And you just thought, is this all going to fall apart again? I know we still have Malaysia to come, but it was just, you just felt like 97 had gone wrong, 98 had gone wrong, 99 had gone wrong. Surely this was all going to fall apart, but it didn't. And it just, great driving, great pace, great strategy from Ferrari. If you're new to F1, Ferrari used to be good at strategy. I'm not even joking. They used to be brilliant. So all of that kind of came together, and crossing the line. I can't express, like delight, joy, fever pitch, whatever, but relief, Jonty, at finally getting that title over the line after trying for so long. My hero, my favourite driver, delivering it for, at the time, my favourite team. It just meant so much. And it was, have I ever asked you how much of a Schumacher fan you were? I know we've had conversations about British media and that around Schumacher, but yeah.
Yeah, the British media really didn't like Michael. They really didn't. And for obvious reasons, that comes from 94 with the whole battle with Damon Hill. And to be fair, they were very, very biased against him before Australia happened. It wasn't just that, but that really kicked it into high gear. It was really, really unpleasant. And with the extremely early days of the internet, I mean, gosh, you had to be on about $4,000 a month just to have the internet in 94. It was not widespread. It was just, And then you had, how long was it? 6 years of him, getting the 2 first titles and then just struggling with Ferrari. My God, those Ferraris were bad. I mean, they were so bad. He had no right to even be in the fight in 97, never mind do what he did. So I can completely see why it's one of your favourite moments. And you could see what it meant to him on the, at the end when the interviews and on the podium. It was a very, very good, positive moment. Not that we saw much of the positivity, like I said.
Yeah, you missed out the fact he's German as well.
Well, that's obviously the reason.
But no, I think, it was that moment, that outpouring. And you're right, 97. I saw somebody say to me once, or somebody said to me once that 97 really, it could have even been you, Jonty. 97 was more Villeneuve sort of making mistakes and throwing things away than necessarily Schumacher keeping himself in it, which he was keeping himself in it, of course, in 97, because he was picking up the pieces, wasn't he? And all it. But we're not getting to 97, we're talking about 2000. It was just a phenomenal moment. And you talk about the emotion and how much it meant to him, but when you listen to Formula One now, commentary from Crofty and things like that, you get that pre-scripted insert driver here, champion of the world thing. Murray Walker didn't do that. Murray Walker was completely off the cuff. You could just hear it in, Damon Hill in 1996, I've got to stop because I've got a lump in my throat. But the commentary as Schumacher crosses the line from Murray, a brilliant race for Michael Schumacher, who exits the chicane for the 53rd and last time to win the 2000 Japanese Grand Prix and the World Championship for the 3rd time to give Ferrari and Italy their dream. And look, he knows it. He is absolutely beside himself with joy. You don't get commentary like that anymore. Such a phenomenal guy. Sorry, I need a drink. Phenomenal guy. Such a fantastic moment as well. And I keep trying to say it, but I can't express how much the relief was, because I was up at, 1998. I'm 12 years old when that's all happening, and I'm crying in the early hours of the morning because he's missed out on the title. So, a few years later to be celebrating like that, having won the championship, just means it meant so much, still means so much, to be honest, looking back, which feels kind of weird so many years down the line, but, a hero's a hero. On the subject of heroes, I think he's here. Good evening, Dan. I've just called you a hero for some reason on stream. Are you there, mate? And how are you?
Hopefully I'm here. This is
you
the
are
first
here.
time I've ever used. Hopefully it sounds okay. New setup, so might be a bit echoey, might be a bit robotic, but fingers crossed it all works. Thanks for calling me a hero. That's a lovely entrance.
That's all right. It's better than what I usually do. Oh, he's here again. It's been a while, mate. I hope you've been keeping well. And I know you've been very busy and whatnot. We're talking F1 memories, as you know. But have you got? I'm guessing you have very few memories of 2000 Japan personal memories. But anything you want to throw in there that you've watched since you grew up? There you go. Hero straight away on the attack.
Well, I mean, 2000. I mean, I'm guessing you went straight for Schumacher. There's
Yeah,
no doubt in
Japan.
mind on that. Yeah, so I, I hate to say it, no, I'd never really been able to watch that in its full glory. It's never quite the same when you watch it afterwards. But no, my personal ones have been far more recent. Am I okay just to go off on a big you know who love fest right now?
If you wanna, if I'm done with mine, we can always come back to it. But if you wanna hop straight into yours, Dan, God, you're keen. I love it. Go on then, mate. I'm gonna give chat a moment to get over the shock when you say it. But what's your favourite F1 memory of all time, Dan?
Well, um, you know, a very, very good memory, of course, was Bahrain 2018, knowing 2018, 2020, knowing everything went okay. But my favorite of all time, undoubtedly, was Spa 2015. Shock horror. I've gone for Spa 2015. And that's a race where I always say it, and people that have listened for forever and ever to these streams will know that this is my favorite race of all time. The race itself was probably one that people aren't going to remember. It's classic 2015. It's Mercedes dominant, Hamilton and Rosberg off in the distance. But I feel like the race behind is a race that's so criminally underrated. And it's got nothing to do with who finished third, maybe slightly. But Seb Vettel, his tyres, he went on a really audacious strategy, his tyre blowing up with a few laps to go. It was a race where Valtteri Bottas for Williams had different sets of tyres on his car at the same time. There was Danny Kvyat, who went on an incredible charge through the field. Perez was on fire in that day in that black and orange Force India. But, of course, it is the man who did eventually finish third, Mr. Romain Grosjean. His last ever Formula One podium. Just to make it that extra bit sweeter was the fact that the Lotus that season wasn't that good. It really wasn't that good. And I know, Sean, you've just been talking about Schumacher's titles. I think all of us know here, Grosjean was never anywhere near a title, but
No,
that season was
not
struggling to
quite.
score regular. Yeah, exactly. But was struggling to even score points. And that very weekend, it's a surprise that car was anywhere near the front. In qualified P4, I believe. Grid penalty knocked him back. In the race, that car had tremendous pace, and a few issues, like I said, with Seb Vettel and a few other cars around him made him move his way forward. But it was the fact that they showed up that race weekend with the bailiffs there. They had no money. They had Maldonado crashing every single weekend. Grosjean, he crashed every now and then. So they were out of money, and it really seems like they weren't even going to go racing that weekend. So to come away with a podium, Grosjean's last ever in Formula One, Lotus's last ever in Formula One, that was special. But also, as many people know, that's the first ever Grand Prix I went to in person to see live. And I sat at the top of Eau Rouge. I went on crutches because I dislocated my knee that summer. So it was a real struggle to get to the race itself. I went on the plane in crutches and was ushered through the airport. But it was just such an incredible weekend. And to get to Spa, that in itself, if you've ever been, you will know it's just something different. Silverstone's great, but the feeling of being in the Ardennes forest at Spa is like nothing else. And if you haven't been, I would so much encourage everyone to go if you possibly can. It's an incredible experience. And yeah, it was a bit heartbreaking knowing that Lotus might not be racing, considering I was a huge fanboy. But to come away with that result is so, so special. And undoubtedly, I think will always be my favourite F1 memory.
I'd totally forgotten about all that with the bailiffs that they'd actually got literally at the circuit threatening to lock the garages and all that. I'd completely forgotten about all that.
It was
absolutely
not,
mad.
Yeah. And I mean, considering I know it's Formula One, but we've never quite seen anything quite like that since. It was so out of the blue. And the rest of the season, they were okay. But yeah, that weekend, I was a bit younger then. I was about 15. So I wasn't quite as up to date on Twitter and what was going on. But the shock horror to find out they might not be racing was awful.
Yeah, I mean, the closest we've had was probably again at Belgium with Force India a few years later, with all of the Perez thing and 3 days of him being lambasted as an evil guy, and then weeks later it comes out actually he was a legend and put his entire career and name on the line to save all the jobs at the team. It's like, oh, suddenly lots of people got very quiet.
I'd forgotten about that one as well. What is it about Spa and after the summer break? They're
Well,
supposed to not be working.
Well, to be honest, when you came in and said Belgium 20, I legit thought he's not going to say 12, surely.
Yeah. Or 2020. Or 21, sorry, 2021.
I think this. I mean, we'll get into controversies one day again, but you think of all those moments. Sauber turning up to Australia with 705 drivers wanting to get in their one race seat or something like that as well. There's so many mad moments in F1 like that we'll probably have to do on a different stream. But I mean, Belgium 2015, when you said it, Dan, I was like, he looked into that podium because Vettel's tyre exploded. But then I watched it back and I've purposely paused your slides on a picture of Romain Grosjean before Sebastian Vettel's tyre blows up to show that actually, yeah, he got a little bit lucky in one respect, but actually he had the pace, was reeling Sebastian Vettel in, and probably would have had him anyway. So great drive from Grosjean. It's not often I say that one. Great drive from Grosjean, and actually that was at 10, podium number 10.
It was, yeah.
So for all the grief we give him, that's 10 more than everyone's superstar hero Nico Hülkenberg's ever picked up. So Grosjean clearly better than Hülkenberg, because that's how people measure these things in F1. But I think his engineer afterwards as well described it as his best drive, or one of his best drives, didn't he? So quite I think that's a good memory. You could have gone with anything, Grosjean. But you could have gone with this first one, but you've gone with, I mean, because some of those races in was it 2013 alongside Kimi?
Yeah, it was. End of the season. I mean, 2013 Japan is the other one where he was leading that race for a long time. And it was only because the Red Bull at the end of that season was so good that he didn't quite clinch it. But that's got to be one of the best race starts from a driver I've ever seen. Grosjean in Suzuka that day, another Suzuka memory. But yeah, definitely 2013, probably his strongest season. But I think the fact I was there in Spa as well just adds that little bit extra. But you're right, he definitely had the pace. And I also remember it was only a few laps to go where Seb's tyre exploded. And I think what made it so special was that you could hear. So we were sat at Eau Rouge and Seb and Roman went up Eau Rouge and you could hear the tyre explode and just the whole circuit erupt. That was something really magical at the time. But yeah, Grosjean had the pace. It wasn't just Seb's tyre blew up and he lucked into it. My man was on it. And yeah, over the last few years, I've not been able to say that all too much.
Oh, well, he went well in IndyCar. He's done some good stuff over there.
Yeah, but I did predict him to win the championship a couple of years ago and last year, and he still hasn't quite done it. So this coming year, it's going to happen.
I have complete faith, mate. But hey, look, for all the joking, Marcus Ericsson won the Indy 500. So,
Very true. Yeah.
Anything's possible, apparently. No, I'm not taking a dig at King Marcus. I'd never do that one. I think that's a great pick. I think Spa's a good pick. I do obviously know your picks in advance because I had to do the slides. And I think Jonty's got a cracker that I didn't even think about. But I also feel like I could give you the floor for 24 hours straight, Jonty, and you could give us hundreds of different memories that you could have picked from in Formula One. But you've picked a really nice feel-good memory out for this one.
You're really doing that to me with that intro.
I am.
Playing the age card. I'm watching that much longer than you, mate. Only
count every year.
6 years longer. 92 was your first season, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so only 6 years longer.
6 whole years.
It's not that much. But yeah, my pick. Ironically, also from 2000, but it's just far more feel good because this guy had been in F1 for 7 years at the time and a couple of podiums, but not really done all that much, and had already been lucky to walk out of a crash in 94 on the first of that fateful weekend at Imola. And then Hockenheim in 2000, everyone's favourite. Rubens Barrichello gets his first win. Not just getting his win, but gets it in spectacular fashion, starting 18th on the grid after problems in qualifying, and all manner of chaos erupting in the race. I mean, just getting to the finish was a challenge. I'm pretty sure about 10, maybe more, drivers retired in that race because the amount of just madness going on. It was absolutely unbelievable. And then the man himself crying his eyes out on the podium. It was super emotional. And everyone got into it because I don't care who you are, everyone loves Rubens with good reason. You know, he's never done or said anything that can be considered nasty, controversial. He's just been everyone's friend in the paddock from day one.
I completely agree on Rubens, and I think people who say they're not Rubens fans are lying. I don't know how you can't not be. I mean, that's and you're right. I mean, it's quite an interesting pick actually, because that is one of the few races I didn't watch live. I had to pop it on record. Dan, brace yourself for this, mate. Had to put it on record. I had to get my VHS, put it in my video recorder, and then I had to go into the TV guide and get the code off the TV guide to program a video recorder, so I could record that race, because I was at the party at the pier in Cleethorpes, woohoo, watching Billy Piper, or Billy as she was then, and 5 and A1. Very exciting, so much better than F1, I'm sure. So I had no idea, but obviously after qualifying I knew Rubens was well down the grid, so I was expecting to come back and see watch that race and see Schumacher, Hakkinen, Coulthard in some formation on the podium, but then Schumacher getting taken out or crashing into Fisichella, whichever your outlook is, into turn 1, into the wall. What was fascinating about the whole thing was that, and I think this is what Ferrari lacked a little bit with Eddie Irvine, is that when Schumacher crashed out, I still felt like Rubens could do something, even from 18th on the grid. And so coming through from 18th, as you say, 12 cars were classified, 11 actually crossed the line. Gaston Mazzacane was the last finisher in 11th place. But to get to the end, like you say, was incredible, Jonty. But also, those conditions at the end, absolutely drenched in the stadium section, dry around the rest of the track, and there's Rubens tiptoeing through the stadium on dry tyres, something that double world champion Mika Hakkinen didn't dare do. Came in the pits, stuck on the inters. I know Hakkinen probably had more to lose with the championship, but he came in and pitted, and Barrichello tiptoeing through the stadium on those dry tyres, a soaked track, was just unbelievable. And you just, all that tension, you go, come on, Rubens. And it was a critical sort of away from the track. It was actually a really important result, because after that race, Schumacher was only 2 points clear of Coulthard and Hakkinen, who were tied on points. Had Barrichello not won that and McLaren had got the 1-2, Schumacher would have fallen off the top of the championship table. So that's what I mean by that's maybe what they were lacking from Eddie Irvine in the past, is that Rubens was always able not only to, move out of the way, as we saw in 2001 and 2002 and many times as Ferrari's number 2 driver, but he was also able to take the points away from Schumacher's rivals when he didn't finish. And that's what sets him apart. And I actually, people talk about Felipe Massa, Eddie, I think he's the best, or one of the best number 2 drivers of all time, which isn't a put down on Rubens, because he's a super quick guy as well, much better than he was ever given credit for. And I mean, particularly at 1999 in that Stewart, the job he did there, for example, second in Monaco in 97, and that drive in Hockenheim, possibly one of his best as well, just because of the conditions at the end.
Yeah, quite right. The race started dry, but just got progressively wetter and wetter until the end of it was sort of biblical Spa last year levels. But Shadow Fan in the chat is exactly right. We had someone running on the track, some lunatic protesting about Mercedes for some reason. But a really big point to remember there is this is old school Hockenheim. There was a couple of chicanes put in, but this was still the long track into the forest, and this lunatic got over the barriers and ran along the track on the Ost curve whilst it was wet. It's like, gee, you couldn't. I mean, there's very few worse places to do something like that in all of F1 tracks. Because the speed the cars are doing there, and also in the wet with the reduced visibility, there'd be no way of seeing him at all. None. Absolute nutter.
I can't remember Murray's commentary. Just having a look for it now, but I don't think he minced his words, did he? Murray Walker in commentary, he rarely did.
Never did.
But I think I'm sure the word moron was thrown around. I'm not or idiot at least. I can't remember now, but he was not afraid to mince his words. But yeah, I forgot about the man on the track actually. So, you know, potential safety car there helping Rubens out a little bit, but you know, you can't take anything away. 18th to first, whether there's safety cars or rain or whatever, is still an amazing achievement. Have you watched that race, Dan, at all, or highlights of it? And if you haven't, you need to go away and do it. Not tonight. I know you've been busy today. I'll let you off.
That's going to have to be some Christmas homework, I think. I've definitely seen the highlights on YouTube, but no, that's not one I've seen all the way through. But I think Jonty's done a very good case there for why everyone should absolutely go and watch it.
Lunatic, that was it. Thank you from Sasser in chat. Not Sasser in chat, sorry. It was Wesman saying I remember Murray calling him a lunatic. It was lunatic, not moron. But yeah, Murray being Murray.
Yeah, well, it had to be Murray's call because the next time we saw someone running on track was Silverstone. And it wasn't Murray commentating.
Of course, James Allen, yeah.
It was Allen and Brundle. Which, again, sorry to just go off on a tangent, but that was when Formula One was shown on ITV in the UK. From 97 to 2008, I think. And we saw a clip of the lunatic with the two flags running down the wrong way down the Hanger Straight. And what happens? We hear James Allen say, "Oh my God, there's someone on the track," and it goes to a break. It's like, you what?
ITV and their advert planning was absolutely shocking. And again, we're on a tangent. Remember Imola? Oh, you can't do that. Leave us like that with Alonso versus Schumacher. How could you do that? Absolutely shocking. But yeah,
3 laps from the end.
Yeah, not even like a decent point. I think there was something at the time about how they were trying to make sure that the British audience could see Jenson Button, his pit stop and him chasing down for the lead and all of this business. And you're like, oh, for God's sake. But yeah, absolutely. 2003 Silverstone, says Shadow Fan, for the man on track. Yeah. Right in the middle of the Hanger Straight. I mean, what are you doing? But yeah, I mean, that's a great F1 memory, Jonty. Hockenheim 2000. It's one of those that it's one of the top races from the season for me. And we're going to do Q&A later, but I am going to come to you guys in chat as well for your memories and your questions around this before we do driver of the season. But Steckleton says, if Rubens was at Ferrari in 1999, do you think he wins the championship where Irvine doesn't? That Ferrari.
Ooh, what was that?
If Rubens was at Ferrari in 99, would he have won the championship where Irvine didn't?
Yeah, 100%.
It's difficult to say. Well, I mean, it wasn't for you. It's difficult to say absolutely. You just never know, do you? But I think looking at what he did in 2000, granted in a better Ferrari, and going off what I said earlier about how I feel like he picked up the points where Irvine didn't when Schumacher had problems, Rubens probably does. But then he's also still at the mercy of Ferrari's strategy cock up at the Nürburgring, for example, where they don't have the tyre ready, and things like that. So I'll say yeah. But it's I'd love to know. Is my audio really playing up?
I mean, it is in my ears. It's fine on the stream.
I'll just check.
It's the same for me as well. But if it's fine on the stream, it's me and Jonty can cope.
Nice. We don't need to listen to John. He talks crap anyway, so
it'll just sound like when you were drunk at Autosport. It's fine.
Well, that's rude. Also true. Yeah, I think that's it for the F1 memories. I'll read some from chat. Hopefully my audio is not playing up too much. I have no idea why it's playing up quite so much. I'm not sure.
Try jumping in and out of Discord for a sec.
It's a good idea. We'll see if that makes any difference at all.
No.
Probably not, no. We'll muddle through. We just listen to it on the stream and catch up. I don't know. But yeah, Rubens on the podium with the anthem crying his eyes out was emotional, even as someone who watched it back, says David in chat. Barrichello was better driver. It would be more possible, says Sasser.
Yeah. If you're in the chat, throw out your favourite memories. I'm sure that some will be more recent because none of you are as old as us.
What you said? I mean, Overview Effects remembers that one. Was his first F1 memory. So I think that was 2015. So that's longer ago than you realise, Jonty. It really is. Most recent great memory is Azerbaijan 2017, says Jack. Just because of the madness, but honourable mention has to go to Raikkonen through Eau Rouge, though the smoke after Panis' engine had exploded. Good shout. Marta says 2008 Canada. As a Sauber fan.
What Marta says, yes, I am Polish. I can fully understand why Canada 2008 is the favourite there.
That's fair.
But there was more. There was a bit more to that as well. It wasn't just an incredible drive, like utterly dominant, but it was the whole story of, being close to death the year before at that track.
The comeback.
It was quite a big face your demons thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I should have a look at the chat now. K-Mag Podium, Australia 2014. Says Matthias, who is also Dane.
Ooh,
second in the end, wasn't it?
That's the last debut podium, I believe.
Yes, it will be, won't it? 2014, yeah.
I will say though, I feel like maybe this is because I wasn't a fan of McLaren at the time, but I feel like K-Mag's pole, that was equally as exciting, if not more exciting. But if he's a Dane, then he will know in himself which one's better. But I thought that was something really special this year. But again, that's probably my Haas bias coming through there.
Start of the 1998 Belgian Grand Prix is very memorable for Phil, says Murray's commentary enhanced it. Yeah, I think the commentary lives with all of us, doesn't it? Who's seen it?
Yeah, memorable. Maybe not favourite, because that was scary.
I always say it's that wheel flying towards the photographer that still makes me take a step back.
Yeah, I'm sure it's further away than it actually is due to the perspective, but it just looks like it's inch from taking his head off.
Vashik says, I started watching during 2019, so my favourite memory is Monza 2019 or Bahrain 2022. Bahrain this year was a really good race, actually, between Verstappen and Leclerc. Daniel Philpott says Kimi's last win, the US 2018. That's a very good shout. I remember getting quite emotional after that, actually, weirdly.
Well, almost as if it was destiny, the least emotional person was Kimi.
Yeah, he didn't care. He was like, whatever, mate.
2 words. Finally.
Yeah. Kimi, we miss him.
John Whittaker 4 wide at Spa in 2018. That is one of the best moments of the last 10 years.
I remember the race reaction with you afterwards, and we're both like, why didn't Ocon? You've got nothing to lose at that moment. Just stick it up the inside of the 2 championship contenders, because they're going to get out of it before you do, and you've got a chance to lead this one, mate. Sort of glad he didn't. But also, at the time, I was kind of like, yeah, come on, you've got to send that one. I've got some for the community section as well. A few people put some in earlier this week when I put a post out. So I'll read a couple of these points and things out. A says, hope you see this one as a fellow Brit. My first season was 2007, and I do lean towards Canada for that year, although the amount of safety cars were a bit rubbish. But overall, it's got to be Silverstone 2008. I didn't go to the track, but watched it at home, and it wasn't objectively the best race in terms of action, but I just remember being mesmerised watching it. I love that race so much, and says, bring back Bridge Corner as well. Yes, please. I love that corner.
Yeah, that's one of our big agendas. Bridge Corner was just
don't let it go, do we?
The turning speed. But no, he's quite not the best race for action, but my God, one of the best ever drives.
Black Nailed Iowa, I think that says Turkey 2020. Even without Hamilton winning his 7th, it would have been a brilliant race regardless. I'd also say Brazil 2021, knowing that it was level points before Abu Dhabi, and seeing as Lewis and Max were always fighting for P1, it was almost guaranteed we would have an on-track showdown. Never felt more nerves than before that race. David says 2017 Monaco, Vettel crossing the line and then watching all the mechanics celebrate and cheer. For some reason, this is just ingrained in my head. A beautiful car, stunning backdrop, and unrelenting passion made me realise how much I want a career in motorsport. Also, favourite yoghurt flavour. There's a blast from the past. There's someone who's been here a while.
Jeez, that's going back to what, the 1st or 2nd year?
It'd be about 2018. So the second. Oh no, it was a community stream, wasn't it, that we did? So it would have been late 2017, very early 2018.
Yeah.
So about 6 months after the channel had started, something like that. That is going back a bit. ST wanted to mix yogurts and drinks together because, of course, he did. It's just what he's like. Jake says, didn't start religiously watching F1 until after attending my first Grand Prix in 2016 in Austin, coincidentally close to when your channel started up, and I've been here from the start, so thank you for all you've done for my F1 experience. Thank you very much, Jake. That's appreciated, mate. It says, now that my butt kissing is out of the way, favourite F1 memory for me has got to be Kimi's final win in Austin 2018. There's another one. Was there for the race. Oh, jealous. And every fan there was so happy to see Kimi get that win. I'll come to your question a little bit later. Makes it a good question. Blobmon says, maybe not my favourite memory, but my first memory of F1 was Mark Webber being sick inside the cockpit in Fuji 2007. Was a small kid at the time. What a lovely way to be introduced into the sport. And a personal favourite memory has to be Gasly's win in Monza with the redemption arc.
Big shout.
Kai says favourite memories from 2022 is Magnussen's first pole. You said that, Dan. Also crashing with Stroll and Alonso takes the car to the finish. Yeah, that's just what Alonso does, though, isn't it? He crashes the car, gets it to the end. So thank you very much. I will come back to that question as well a little bit later. But thank you for those who took the time to leave a memory in the community thing. There was one on Twitter earlier asking about Frenson in 1999, and we said we keep the happy memories, but I'll just give you a shout out to Alex Morris, because I remember I always say on these streams and these videos, go and watch highlights of 1999. It's a fantastic season, very underrated, although I seem to overrate it, so maybe not anymore. But yeah, Frenson, that heartbreak of the car breaking down, spoiler alert, just after he's exited the pits in the Nürburgring, looking good for the win, which would have put him right up there, I think level on points at the top of the championship with 2 or 3 to go. Results didn't go his way in the final few races, so maybe he wouldn't have done it, but in a Jordan. And just to anyone who's new to F1, a Jordan is what we would call an Aston Martin now. That is the same team, so yeah. Quite a moment to be in a championship fight. Although the Jordan was a good car in 99, to be fair.
How many teams has that been now?
It started as Jordan, didn't it?
2, 3. Yeah, it was Jordan was the original team, but then Midland, Spiker, Force India, Racing Point, and now Aston Martin.
You missed one.
In
Racing Point, Force India. We had that awkward half a year, didn't we?
Both in the middle, yeah. God. But they didn't even start until, I think Jordan's first year was 90 or 91?
91, I think, wasn't it? I feel like 91. I mean, if this is just you trying to talk about the Jordan 191, mate.
Well, yeah. I can't remember if that was their first or second car. But even so, I mean, in that much shorter time than most other people, it's ridiculous how many different names they've had.
Yeah, it was. The Jordan 191 was the first car they used for their debut season in 1991. So there you go. Yeah. And people sort of putting in chat there, Jack, Buzzing Hornets. They had the Buzzing Hornets, didn't they? And then when they kind of had a difficult year, they came back as the Bitten Heroes. I love that team. It's a team that I mean, we still got them at the Silverstone team at Aston, but they've lost that little bit of that little bit of charm, if you know that fun. Yeah, not quite as. And even though they are still underdogs, because the car's still very much an underdog, they don't feel like the underdogs in the same way that Force India and Racing Point and Jordan did, if that makes sense. I mean, Midland and Spiker were just there, weren't they? And so, I mean, Jordan in the latter years, I mean, they got the win in 2003 for Fisichella, but not great, was it? Podium at the US in 2005, but not worth anything to anybody, really.
Now I think about it, there's only 3 teams that have kept the name all the way.
Ferrari.
Yeah.
McLaren.
Yeah.
And Williams.
Yes, even though it is the second team that they did because they originally
there is a
Williams Racing.
Don't forget Haas. Thank you very much.
I did mean teams that aren't toddlers.
That's fair.
And I mean, last year they basically changed their name anyway, so that doesn't really count.
Did they? Really?
Well, they were
Almost.
Uralkali, weren't they? Or however you say it.
Had
was
certain
only a
events not
sponsor.
happened, I'm pretty sure that
Yeah.
would be their name now.
Yeah. I mean, no one likes to remember that last year for Haas anyway, so we can ignore that.
I don't know
See
what
no
to
problem
say. Right, I'm going to do driver of the season because the poll is now closed. I know, right?
What?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go get a drink.
Well, get your drink, but have a think about who your driver of the season is because I will come to you, Jonty.
Okay.
For a pick, and you as well, Dan. So you've got a good couple of minutes to think about it. Thank you to everyone who voted. I am going to go through 20 to 11, then I'll do the top 10 and the top 3, of course. How do we do this? So basically, everyone's been telling me that they think Verstappen's won it and Latifi is last. And I'm telling you, you're wrong. Last place joint last place with just 0.17% of the vote are Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly, 20th and 19th respectively. Wow, a lot of love there, but from literally one person. Mick Schumacher is in 18th place with 0.34% of the vote. Lance Stroll 17th, also on 0.34% of that vote. Daniel Ricciardo is in 16th, Sainz 15th, and Sergio Perez in 14th, all on 0.67% of the voting, whatever. I'm quite appalled at this one, actually, if I'm being honest. Valtteri Bottas, only 13th with 0.84%. 0.84%. I think Bottas was very good this year. Esteban Ocon is in 12th place, again on 0.84% of the vote. Brace yourself, Dan, for who's in 11th. I have no idea. Sometimes I feel like I watch a different F1 to everybody else. 11th place with 1.17% of the vote is Nicholas Latifi.
I mean, I'm part of me, because of just how Formula One works on the internet, I'm surprised he didn't make the top 10.
I'm surprised he didn't win it.
Yeah.
So Latifi gets 11th. I should actually point out, although there'll be a lot of new people as well that have voted, there's a core audience here who also voted for Esteban Ocon as driver of the season in 2018, I think it was. So he had a good season, but, top 10, Zhou Guanyu is in 10th place, so beating Valtteri Bottas. He got 1.34%. In 9th place, Kevin Magnussen on 3.18%, so I think that's pretty good for K-Mag. Got a pole, got some really good points early on, so yeah, I think he kind of made the difference, didn't he, for Haas? They're your team, Dan, so I'll let you have the word on that one. But he kind of made the difference for them in that Constructors' Championship, and that, those points early on really helped them hang on to that spot, didn't they?
Yeah, I think K-Mag's been pretty great this season. Not perfect, but I think it's so, the way he's been driving this year, it's been so easy to forget he's had a year out. And I know for some people that say, well, a year out, that's not long, but he did an awful lot last season, and they were not races in single-seaters. He's really had to adapt himself. And it was Mazepin that did winter testing. K-Mag, with Mazepin, he did week 1, didn't he? He did week 1 of winter testing, and then K-Mag did the second week, if I'm correct there. Jonty's normally on it with that kind of thing. But either way, he came in very, very late in the day, and I got a P5 in the first race of the season. That was nuts. 9th in the second race, did really well in the sprint race in Imola, if I remember rightly. I think went backwards in the actual race. But that pole in Brazil, that was something super special. And to hang on for a point in the sprint race, that's my highlight of this particular season. And then was very unkindly bumped out the way by Daniel Ricciardo in the Grand Prix. But that car's been a bit of a handful this year, and it's been stuck in that midfield with so many teams where one weekend it's been great, others it's not. But K-Mag has really slotted back into that team so well and has gelled straight into that team leader role, has, I think, been quite comfortable in front of Mick this year. But also K-Mag's had 5 retirements this season and is still up in P13, only a few points behind Seb and Danny Rick. Yeah, I've been really impressed with K-Mag this year. I'm so glad he's returned.
Potentially controversial, 8th place. Lewis Hamilton. A lot lower down than I expected. Again, potentially controversial. 7th place, Alex Albon. Yeah. Lewis Hamilton got 4.02% of the vote and Albon got 4.52%. Sebastian Vettel, 6th place. Honestly thought he'd be higher just because it's his last season, 4.86%. In 5th place, Charles Leclerc, 6.03%. And in 4th place, probably because I stuck this poll on Twitter, Fernando Alonso with 10.22% of the vote, which means in alphabetical order, we have Norris, Russell and Verstappen remaining. So they are your top 3 in some order. I don't think it's going to be a massive surprise. It's relatively close between 2nd and 3rd, but the winner has just disappeared with it. So 3rd place is George Russell on 14.24%. 2nd place, and therefore runner-up, of course, is Lando Norris on 15.58%, which means, F1 Word viewers, your driver of the season and joining Lewis Hamilton and Esteban Ocon in your Hall of Fame for driver of the seasons is Max Verstappen. Now, bearing in mind Norris in 2nd was 15.58%, Max Verstappen won with 30.15%. It wasn't even close. So Max Verstappen, driver of the season. And I said it on Sunday, he's my driver of the season. Stuart, it was his driver of the season as well on Sunday. Who's your driver of the season, Jonty?
It's really hard not to say Max. I mean, he's just been on another level. I mean, obviously, people always say, "Oh, but the car." They need to remember the best driver and the best car are not completely mutually exclusive. The best drivers will always gravitate to the best cars. That's how it works. It's how it's always worked. Someone who everyone always keeps in the GOAT debate is Fangio, and he specifically moved to certain teams every year because they had the best car. It's always going to happen like that. And with the form that Max has been in for, you've got to say 2 or 3 years now, Red Bull finally getting the car just right, he was just absolutely untouchable. There's a reason he smashed records this year. And it just can't be denied. No one can deny that. When you look at it objectively, he's just been absolutely outstanding.
I think a word I used in my video was he's just been a machine. It's just been relentless, hasn't he? Every time he's had the opportunity to win, or almost every time he's had the opportunity to win, he has won it. I think Bahrain is an exception there with Vettel. I'm going back a bit there with Leclerc just clinging on through that battling with the DRS and obviously the DNF, which ultimately took Verstappen out of the race. But he didn't manage to take the lead full time, did he? If you like, in that one. So I think it was 15 wins, 17 if we include the sprints from 22 and then 25 races. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Are you going to go with Verstappen as well, Dan, or are you going to shock us all with a massive curveball and join the chat and big up Latifi, who came 11th, and make him your driver of the season?
Well, K-Mag did get a pole this season in a Haas. I mean, that is quite incredible. But no, I mean, undeniably Max Verstappen. And you run out of superlatives for this season. Of course, 15 wins. But I think when you spin it the other way and say he only didn't win 7, that's nuts. And 2 of those were mechanical failures. One of those in Singapore, he started from the back and it was a chaotic Grand Prix. Sao Paulo very easily could have won if not contact with Hamilton. That is nuts. The consistency he has had this year. And I think Jonty's right. It's been building over the last 2 or 3 years. Even in that COVID season where Mercedes was so dominant, Max was still getting second places most races, even though the car wasn't quite there. Now he's got the car available to him. He has just been on another level this year. And yes, there's still been 1 or 2 mistakes, but that's always going to creep in. But the fact that every single weekend he showed up, he put on an incredible performance. In quali, Leclerc had more poles, but in the race, Max always came alive. And it would normally even be turn 1, his killer instinct in turn 1, whereas maybe 2018, when he was first getting into Formula One and really stepping up to the big time, there were moments where he was maybe a little bit hot-headed. that has gone now, and we're seeing such a mature driver in Max Verstappen, someone who is definitely aggressive, but knows when to be aggressive, knows who he can be aggressive with. And you can just see in the final standings to be over 100 points over your closest rival and your teammate is just utterly ridiculous. And he's not a million miles away from winning Red Bull, the Constructors' Championship on his own. It's been such an incredible year from Max Verstappen. And coming into this season, we all desperately wanted another fight like last year. And though it's it's slightly disappointing we didn't get that, especially looking at how quick Ferrari were at the start of the year, all credit's got to go to Max because he has driven the socks off that car. And Checo, as much as Checo's had his moments this year, Max has just been incredible. It's really harsh, I feel, to not mention a couple of other drivers in the midfield. But Max has just been so good. You can't not give it to Verstappen this season.
I'm sure somebody will have a reason somewhere. You know what the internet's like. But no, I agree. I mean, just disappeared, didn't he? It was all... I mean, summer break, it was 80-something points clear at the top, and you just thought, that's that then, isn't it? There was no way back. But yeah, superb season from him. Yeah, I've got nothing else to add. I did it all on Sunday, but if you've got anything to add, Jonty, before I move on to our next feature, if we're going to call it that, then feel free, mate.
I just think that possibly a few drivers done a little dirty in the polls. I mean, where did you say Sainz was?
Carlos Sainz was 11, 12, 13, 14, 15th.
See, that's incredibly harsh. Yes, he didn't have as many points as Leclerc, but as we talked about it during the predictions recording, the amount of DNFs he had that weren't his fault, were quite dramatic, and also the subsequent penalties that come because of those DNFs with the self-immolating turbo of that car. I think that's quite harsh.
I think Bottas 13th is quite harsh, actually. When you consider Latifi 11th, for example, and Zhou in 10th. I think Bottas is very harsh in 13th. But yes, you heard it on a stream. Sean say something was harsh on Bottas. Absolutely shocking. So what time is it? So we're nearly at 7. Do you think we got time, Jonty, for a naughty or nice list?
Well, yeah, it's the Christmas-ish stream.
Christmas-ish stream. So I haven't done a pre-recorded video this year because I wasn't sure we were going to be able to squeeze it in. So we are going to do it live. So what's going to happen is I've put all the drivers' names into a random name selectory thing on the old interweb. I'm going to pick one out at random. I am then going to ask Jonty and Dan, and I'll join the discussion as well, whether we're going to put that driver based on their on-track actions, their off-track actions, and how they've performed in general this season on the naughty list, which is Cole, and nice list, which will be a present, although given the way things are in the world, I feel like Cole would be more of a present these days. But anyway, and I will throw a poll in chat as soon as I pick that driver out that will simply say driver name, naughty or nice, and then you guys will vote, and you'll get like 2 minutes to vote on each one. We'll not do the full field because we'll be here all night with this one. So I'm going to spin that one and see who we get. And we're going to kick things off. I'll put some Christmas slides on as well, which is basically just snow and F1 cars, but there you go. George Russell. That's an interesting one straight away. Dan, George Russell, great season. Beat Lewis Hamilton in the championship, which is, impressive. But would you put him on your naughty list or your nice list? I know there's some stuff we can quite easily get into there.
Yes, well, this is a tricky one to start because I feel like there's been a few incidents this year. I'm thinking USA Turn 1 where he's been a bit naughty, but I think overall this year his driving has been pretty immense. I think it's only 4 occasions he didn't finish in the top 5 come the end of the year. Coming in with so much pressure, it was one of the big talking points at the start of the season. Could he fight Lewis Hamilton? And he's done a great job. He's ended up beating him this year. He was the one who came away with the victory for Mercedes and a pole position, both of which were his first. So he's already had some pretty juicy gifts this year, but I still think he's been pretty awesome this year on track. He's been Mercedes is rock when Hamilton was struggling at the start. And I think for me, he's got to be on the nice list.
What are you saying, Jonty? Do you agree?
Yeah, I'll be putting him on the nice list. I mean, we all know the state of that car they've had this year, the W13, ironically, and it didn't allow them to challenge properly up at the front for a long time, but he's definitely proved that he wasn't just a one-hit wonder in a Williams qualifying. He's definitely proven his worth, so he has to go on the nice list. Looking at the poll, I'm thinking the naughty votes might be Sainz fans who watched Cota.
Well, I was going to say, I think there's a fair argument, those that are voting naughty, because he had the incident with Perez in Austria, which ultimately gave Perez damage and he ended up out of the race. A lot of people put the blame for the Big Joe accident at Silverstone at Russell's door, so I think that would maybe sway the vote. I think the incident at Turn 1 at Cota, so there's a few moments in there that I think that whilst I would probably agree nice list based overall, I can totally see why a few people might stick him on the naughty list.
Last year, it definitely would have been naughty.
Yes.
1 for Imola, 2 for accepting the trophy in Spa.
Let's not bring Spa 2021 up. Oh my days, what a race that wasn't. I'm going to close the poll in 10 seconds, which means I'm going to have to check the time, make sure I don't rip you all off. So I'm going to close that in 10 seconds. At the moment, 55% are saying nice, 45% are saying naughty. I think we're heading towards the nice list for George Russell this year.
Chat fighting back.
We'll end the poll there. There we go. That was so yeah, it's 55-44. He is on the nice list, which has genuinely surprised me. I thought he was going to get a lot more grief than that one. Apparently
1% think he was neither.
Yeah, I don't know how YouTube work it out. I really don't. It's always doing that. I don't think they want. I think they're trying to avoid 50-50s, which is probably a good thing. But let's have a look at another driver. Then we have got spin that. Lance Stroll. Well, this is easy. Jonty, me and you, as you know, we have to put him on the nice list because of our affiliation with Lawrence Stroll. So that's a nice, easy one. Really, we have to put Lance Stroll on the nice list. So really, Dan, you're the one that's going to have to make the case for the naughty list. Really, we have no choice.
Oh.
I'm sat on my yacht here in Monaco, apparently. So go for it, mate.
I'm putting him on the naughty list until his bloody check clears.
Is yours not cleared? I got double this month. That's why yours hasn't cleared.
But I kind of, at first I was going to say nice list because I can't. Is it the most? It's not the most overtakes, or is it the most overtakes, or is it the most improvements from starting position? One of those.
Lap 1 overtakes is his big thing.
Yeah, so that's good, but I think I do have a case for the naughty list because I think it's incredibly disrespectful that he took away points from Seb Vettel in the last Grand Prix. Seb deserved that. Seb deserved that in that last race, and he really fought against a horrendous strategy and did an awesome job in those last few Grand Prix. And Stroll, whose daddy owns the team, got a preferential treatment and didn't even let Seb keep the points in his last race. I think that's very disrespectful.
Didn't Seb score points?
I think he got one.
Dan's like,
I don't know.
Yeah, of course he did. Yeah, he got one. 10th
It seems
place.
like so long ago. Yeah, but one. But he could have had more. I want Seb to have as many points as possible in his last season. So for that, but just the sheer fact he beat Seb in his last race and the disrespect, he should be on the naughty list.
You're not going to also include the 4 or 5 times he nearly planted Seb into a wall this year.
Yeah, and actually, just Cota in general. That has got to be the naughty list for absolutely monster destroying Alonso. So that's the case there.
Yeah, Alonso's going beyond the naughty list and trying to get him hung, drawn, and quartered.
Yeah, no, I mean just off the top of my head, the driving in Brazil that my favourite thing, he goes to
Yes.
squeeze Vettel off the track, and then he goes, I didn't see him. It's like, well, then why were you swinging left so violently if you didn't see him, you liar? And then obviously the incident with Alonso where he sent him into space. So, I think Naughty List, we're going to give the poll 10 seconds from now to get your votes in. I could probably end it now, and it's pretty emphatic. But
You can give it 10 years, it won't make any difference.
It's not, is it? Lance Stroll can have the greatest season, and I feel like if I did a naughty or nice poll, he'd probably still get naughty. So we will round it off there. 89% of you are saying that it is. Yeah, again, 99% of the votes. 89% saying naughty. 10% say nice.
I mean,
there you go.
I think the biggest thing about the driving in Brazil was the fact that it was the race after Kota. No, it wasn't. 2 races after Kota. It's like, what? Have you learned nothing in 2 weeks? For God's sake, man.
Josh says, I might give him nice because he's going to be up against Alonso next year. Oh, we should have done, shouldn't we? Because, yeah.
No.
Rip Aston Martin's social media next season. Let's spin the wheel again and see who we've got. It's not actually a wheel, by the way. I've just been playing a lot of the Nuka World on Tour on Fallout 76 now that I'm getting a bit of time off over Christmas and that, so I'm obsessed with that event. So I keep saying spin the wheel for like literally everything. Go shopping, we're spinning the wheel. Anyway, Charles Leclerc. Do you know, I think this is sort of the opposite to Lance Stroll in that I don't really think there's any reason to put him on the naughty list, is the Jonty. I can't think of anything that he did that was like, I mean, he crashed in France, but I mean, he's not wiped somebody out on the way, has he? If you know what I mean.
No, although someone has updated Google Earth to include a Charles Leclerc parking space at that exact spot.
No.
Yeah.
That's harsh.
I'm inclined to just automatically give him nice as a sort of a pity nice for having to deal with that team this year. I mean, I know it's been a meme for a while now of them making mistakes, but God's sake, this year they made so many mistakes and everyone was new. So well done, you've learned from those mistakes, but how do you keep creating new ones? What the hell?
I mean, to be fair, it's not that they've been in the sport more than 7 decades, is it? So, any case for the naughty list then, Dan, for Charles Leclerc? I'm just trying to think if there's been an incident where, there's been he's taken somebody out or said something off track. Getting quite angry on the radio, but to be honest, I think if I had Ferrari as my strategist, I'd get quite angry on the radio. Quite very angry on the radio.
Yeah.
I get angry watching, mate. I couldn't handle the car.
Yeah, I'm really struggling to think of any sort of reason. Like you, I'm racking my brain to think, was there a crash or something where he's a bit naughty? But nothing's springing to mind. And I feel, I mean, France was bad, but just the heartbreak in that team radio wants me to put him on the nice list. And also just Hungary. I mean, there were so many bad strategies this year, but that one, those hard tyres were so bad. And just the pity alone, he's got to be on the nice list.
Yeah, don't forget the Inters in Brazil quali.
Yes. Oh my goodness, yes.
Well, the Inters, or is it the softs, or is it these other softs?
Passing tyres over the car.
I've legit never seen that before.
Jack Chambers is quite clear here that he should be on the naughty list. For he says he raised our hopes and dashed them quite expertly. Steckleton says nice, but also naughty vibes because he didn't step up enough. Carlos was way more decisive and made better calls from the car, with Charles being too nice. Then goes on to say naughty points for being nice, which is that is just so F1, isn't it? Right there. I'm just going to end the poll. If you want to get a vote, and I'll give you a couple of seconds. I'll end the poll though because we're looking at what a landslide is the phrase I'm going to go with here. So 94% saying nice and 6% saying naughty. So there you go.
Conclusive.
Yeah. The closest one so far is George Russell. We'll do a few more. So let's spin that wheel that isn't really a wheel and doesn't actually spin.
Where did you find that picture?
Hey, do you know Motorsport
I
Images?
remember that.
Anything you want, I'll find it. There's some corkers on there. There's stuff from like the 50s and 60s of like F1 Christmas meals, and you've got like in the 60s and that, or 70s as well, like Colin Chapman sat there and he's like, wow, this is history, this is amazing. I couldn't put them all in the stream because it would have made no sense. They weren't wearing Santa hats, so Santa hats or snow is generally the rule. Alex Albon, naughty or nice? I mean, I just wrote Colin Chapman in the poll. That's not going to make any sense to anybody, is it? Alex Albon is who we're thinking of here. Has Colin Chapman been naughty or nice? That should be quite an easy one.
Yeah, naughty.
What? Noise. I've written noise. Let's not do noise. We're not them, Sean. I mean, as a person, absolutely lovely. Had a very good season, I think, for a comeback year at Williams. I can't think. Nice. Is that an easy one, Dan? Nice.
Well, it should be an easy one, but I feel there's got to be some sort of debate that it was his great driving that has kicked out Nicholas Latifi, and Nicholas Latifi's a lovely man. And so I feel like as a direct result, Albon has booted out Latifi from the sport. So maybe naughty for that reason, because that's not a very nice thing to do at Christmas. But at the same time, his driving and on track, Williams' saving grace. And, I will put my hands up, and I know someone else on this stream was also the same and wasn't too convinced he would be the answer to Williams' problems.
Oh, Jonty, God.
But he has been great this year. He has been clearly the better of the two drivers and just seems to have gelled with that team really well. Just fits in to the Williams vibe. I feel like better than he did at Red Bull. So, yeah, I'm really happy Alex has found his place. Can't really think of any incidents that were his fault this year, a bit like Charles Leclerc. Has had to put up with a stinky car. That Williams was not great come the end of the year, and he's always seemed to drive with a smile, come out after the race with a smile, and so yeah, he does deserve nice list, but it's taking Latifi's seat away from him, that maybe takes away some nice points.
2 points from chat I want to make. First of all, I agree with Zach. Says technically it could have been De Vries's great driving that kicked Latifi out. Hopped in that car with very little time in it and made him look a fool, didn't he? And also from David, he dyed his hair red for charity, which is extra nice. So I'd have been surprised if that had gone any other way, to be honest, on Albon, other than nice.
Yeah, and I've just got one word for putting Albon on the nice. Horsey.
Horsey?
Oh, God, don't tell me you don't know.
I'm not sure on this one either.
Horsey Albon. Horsey Albon. His cat. He's one of his cats, but the most popular cat.
Times like this, I really did a face cam so you could see the face I'm pulling, like, what?
Yeah. All of the animals that he looks after. And he does he seems to be really pushing for doing animal charity stuff, so that's good.
Thank you, by the way, to Jack for your super chat. Very much appreciated, mate. It says you've been nice this year. Buy yourself some coal. You're going to need to stick some noughts on the end of that, mate, to force some coal. So if anyone wants to drop me $1,000 so I can heat my home for half an hour, that'd be great. I'm only joking. Don't you dare, Jack. We've been here before with you and these stupid donations. Don't you dare. Because that was a right mess. I assume you got that sorted. I don't think I ever asked if you got that properly sorted. But yeah, we'll close the poll though for Albon in a few seconds. Give you a chance to vote. In fact, I've probably close it now. It looks like he's going on the nice list. So far, we'll do a couple more. Don't worry. But so far, we've got everyone on the nice list except for Lance Stroll. Possibly slightly predictable. Let's round that one up. So 80. Don't Jack. 80. I'm not spending my Christmas sorting out. You said that. I'm keeping it. Nice list for Albon. 88%. Naughty. 11%. Let's spin the wheel that doesn't exist. Oh, I think I know the answer to this one. How many Alonso fans are here? Just out of interest. Esteban Ocon.
Ooh.
I think because Alonso fans will hate me for this, but I've thoroughly enjoyed his driving. Yes, he's been a little bit over the line at times, but I've really enjoyed watching somebody go out there willing to get some moves done rather than just going, just wait for the DRS because I might be able to overtake in a straight line. I've really enjoyed it. He gave us lots of action in that midfield. He's done a great job at beating Alonso. Yes, reliability, but still. However, I have a feeling he's going to get quite a few votes for naughty list given some of his moments on track. Late defense, I'm thinking in Jeddah on Alonso, the messy couple of laps they had as teammates. Only one of those was remotely his fault. In Brazil, I'll say the Nortice list. I'll sit right on the fence. I'll make a word up and everything, Jonty.
It's a tough one. He's performed well above what I think he's capable of this year. In all honesty, he's really put out some incredible drives, but it's been a bit sketchy. And Alonso has mellowed a little bit in his later years, and he does try to sort of make an effort to avoid trouble. So, and Ocon kind of has a history of trouble with teammates as well. So, I think I might have to go naughty.
Oh, we're split. Well, I made a word up, so I don't really count, do I? What are your thoughts, Dan?
My gut's saying the nice list. My gut's saying the nicest. I think he's really stepped up this year. I think Jonty's right. He's had, you're both right, he's had some moments with Fernando this year. But to beat Fernando, that's quite a tough ask. And I think even behind closed doors, he must have been dealing with some serious politics if your teammate's Fernando Alonso. So I feel he will have had a bit of a stressful year. I feel it's a car that's had not great reliability on both sides of the garage. Yes, it's been worse for Alonso, but still not perfect for Esteban. And I feel like having a teammate where Daniel Ricciardo was on top of him, Alonso was better last year, and being a driver who, up until this season, had never, ever beat a teammate in the standings, to finally do that and to say that the driver you did it against was Fernando Alonso, fair play, fair play. And again, I know there were reliability issues with Fernando and the two clashed from time to time, but there were 22 races this year. So though it doesn't completely discount reliability, he had to be consistent. And I think Ocon was definitely that this year. And he's French, slight bit of Grosjean bias still in me. It's got to be the nice list.
Fair enough. I'm sort of sat here giggling because it's because I'm drinking beer, but also because I'm thinking about, this stream, 179 people here. Most people here are going to have been here throughout the year, so they've heard us give all our reasons before, but we still feel the need, even on a Christmas stream, to cover our asses. Like, yes, I know reliability was a problem, and I'm not hating on Alonso, but it's just one of the great things about F1 content creation. I'll close the vote in just a moment, but I just want to read a couple of comments. John says, nice, without a doubt. Ocon absolutely doesn't deserve the hate he gets, says Wesman. Completely agree. Steckleton says his teammate was Alonso. You've got to deduct some naughty points for that because they just radiated onto him from Nando. Raul says if he was driving for a top team, it would be a DF narrative, but it's close to being naughty. And Zach says naughty, if only for the fact that he never seems to be aggressive with anyone as he is with his teammates. Sorry, Zach, messing that one up there. I don't know. He was quite aggressive with Lewis Hamilton at times. So I feel like he's a driver that will get his elbows out if he needs to. So I would say we were pretty much on the fence with that one, weren't we? I'm umming and ahhing. Jonty's gone naughty, Dan's gone nice. But chat, 62% have said naughty. So Ocon is on the naughty list. 37%, because that's how percentages work, have gone for nice. So there we go. We'll do a couple more, and then we're going to come to Q&A. So get your burning questions ready. Thank you very much to Lyle for your super chat, by the way. Says, great stream. You guys need to try Fireball drink. Thank you very much, mate, for your super chat. What's a Fireball drink? Well, it's a drink. Leave that with me. I feel like
No idea.
that's got stream written all over it, hasn't it? That sounds terrifying. Spin that wheel again. Who have we got? Sergio Perez. Look, if you're not following Lollipop Men on Twitter, you should be. They put out a cover of an Ed Sheeran song, Count on Me, I think it's called, with Sergio Perez, and it is both the funniest and most heartbreaking thing you will ever watch. So just for that, I have to put Sergio Perez on the nice list. But also, I don't think he's been as bad as people have made out. I do think, and I'm going to reiterate what I said on Sunday, so apologies to have to repeat myself on it, but I do still think in that car he probably should have been second in the championship. But he's not had a bad season. He did his bit for the team when he was asked to with team orders. That wasn't reciprocated. And I can't think, and you're going to come in and make me look really daft now, with one of you will in a minute, but I can't think of one major incident he's caused out on track. And despite frustration over team radio in Brazil sort of saying that shows who he really is, and some of the comments that we had in the media, not nasty comments, but just sort of frustrated comments, I don't really think there's a lot of point voting for or picking Checo for the naughty list, because I don't think there's any reason to put him there. Jonty.
I'm trying to remember where he had his flappy front wing. Japan?
I've got Kota in my head.
And well, last chat has put an end to that, saying depends if the Monaco crash was intended.
That's true. That's true.
I still can't believe it was. I must say, I really can't believe it was. Spinning, parking in certain places, dunking your front wing even, I can believe being true, but putting your gearbox at risk, just no. It's just not the way to do it at all. Zandvoort qualifying, that would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what happened in Zandvoort qualifying? Oh, that's right. Checo spun on the last corner.
It's one of those things that we probably won't find out until long after both drivers have retired and Checo puts out an autobiography. I'll make my annual point that I'm very much looking forward to Lewis Hamilton's autobiography when he retires, and I can't wait to skip to the section about 2007. Really looking forward to that one. That could get very spicy. Thank you to AC, member for 23 months. Thank you very much, mate. It says Perez, Monaco weekend on and off track. So AC is probably voting towards the naughty list there. Thank you so much for your support this year, mate. Massively appreciated. I will be back in Discord in the new year a lot more frequently than I have been over the last few weeks. So I'll talk to you over there properly, mate. So we'll see where this is going. I'll end it in a couple of seconds. At the moment, we're looking at nice list, 85% for 15. And then we'll probably do one more after this. But I'll try and pick somebody from a different team as well when we do it. So if it lands on somebody that have already had like a Mercedes or whatever, then we'll try somebody else. So 84% have gone with nice, 16% have gone with naughty. We've gone nice, haven't we, for Checo? So that was a pretty damn. You seem surprised, Jonty.
No. I was going to say, instead of picking another driver at random, can I mix things up?
Yeah, of course you can. We'll do both.
Mattia Binotto.
Oh, that's a poll. Hang on. Right, I've got to remember how to spell his name now. Mattia Bin, because he's in the bin now. Binotto. Naughty. I feel like putting a third option. Naughty nice, or leave him alone or let him go off to retirement.
Right. He won't be retiring.
Controversial, potentially. I don't know which way you're going to go or chat will go. Nice list, because I believe, and I'm totally ruining my Ferrari video for a couple of weeks time, but hey, it's believed that his goals for the start of the season were to get Ferrari winning races again, to beat Mercedes in the constructors and get them close to Red Bull as well, and to get second in the championship. They got second in both championships. They were winning races. Yes, they could and should have won a lot more. They had 7 million poles this year and only about 4 wins, so they absolutely should have won more. But if you look at the season on paper, if you'd have given them this season on paper, just with the wins and where they finished in the championship, at the start of the season, they'd have ripped your hand off for it. I believe that. So I actually think that what's happened is in sort of particularly after Australia, when he's really far clear of Verstappen in the championship. I think somebody at the top has gone, we can win this championship, and that shifted expectation. And so what's happened is now those few wins and that second of the championship looks like a disappointing season because they didn't win the championship or really challenge for it. So I don't think Mattia Binotto did a bad job overall, but I don't think, and I've never felt this with Binotto, he's done a lot to kind of move Ferrari into the 21st century with, talking to the media a bit more openly and the things they've done on social media as well. He may well have had a hand in that. He's not their admin or anything, but he may well have decided they need to start pushing that a little bit more. So he's done a lot of good stuff, but he never struck me as a Christian Horner or a Toto Wolff or dare I say Flavio Briatore. Not that he won't fix a race, but just that if I can't imagine him like a Gunther Steiner losing his rag with his drivers and team where he needs to, going back to that pre-summer break when he's asked what needs to change with strategy and he's saying they're not going to make changes. I'm sure, I don't know if anybody in chat works at Maranello, let me know, but I'm sure behind the scenes he could really lay into people if he needed to, but it just didn't feel like a leader. And I think they need somebody like a Horner, a Wolff, that kind of character at Ferrari. And I hope, and I've got good feelings about it, that Freddie Vasseur is the guy that will do that. I know Alfa Romeo to Ferrari is a big step, but he also takes no BS. So I think he could be good for them. But the question, I suppose, kind of wandering off topic slightly, but the question, I guess, is, will Ferrari let him manage the team that way? That's my concern. So, long story short, I put him on the nice list. Just. Jonty, I'll come to you first, then Dan can have his say straight after.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, and I wouldn't be surprised if you bang on. They've given him these aims. This is what we want to achieve this year. And it seems to be pretty much the case that literally no one at Maranello suspected just how fast that thing was out of the gate. And then all of a sudden, couple of 2 or 3 races in, it's like, we're winning by a mile. We've been dominating this. Let's change the goals. The not a leader bit comes in with him not turning around and saying, no, these are the these are the requirements you gave me. We're going to go for that. You can't change them now. The season's already started. And I think someone stronger as a leader would have prevented that and saved his own skin at the same time.
Can I, Dan and Jonty, can you just, I'll let you go, Dan, but can you, I'll let you speak, you don't have to leave. But are you all right just to cover me for 2 minutes while I go and let the puppy out?
Of course.
Yeah, I won't be a sec.
I'm thinking, Jonty, is that he's got to be on the naughty list, because there is no way coming into this season with a completely clean slate for every team. There is no way Ferrari came into this year and thought, yeah, our goal, I think we'll aim for second place. Yeah, that sounds good. That did not happen. Ferrari, being Ferrari and knowing they had an opportunity this year, knowing that they had a bit of a slight advantage finishing where they did last year in the standings over Red Bull and Mercedes, they were going all out for this year. And I think the fact that the last couple of seasons they've struggled so much, I think that even proves that they were on board for this year very early on. Winter testing, they looked on fire. The first few races, I know Verstappen had a couple of DNFs and so did Checo, but Ferrari seemed like they were in the fight. And though directly it wasn't Binotto's fault, strategy issues, he is the top man. He is the one that needs to take the responsibility for those issues, hold his hands up, come out to the media and say, you know what, we weren't good enough. This is the actions we're going to put in place to make changes. And right up until the end of the season, there were no changes. There was no accountability. There was no transparency from the team. And yes, it's Ferrari, and they're not a team that have been particularly transparent. But when they had Aruva Bene at the helm, when they had even Ross Brawn at the helm, Stefano Domenicali, it seemed like they had a strong leader, someone who they really looked up to. And if a driver made a mistake, they were scared. Whereas I don't really feel, and this is nothing against Binotto, because I feel it was he wasn't the right choice in the first place. He was put in the role because of his loyalty to the team, his years of service. But I don't think, as we've already discussed, I don't think he's that figurehead for a team like Ferrari with the history they have. He's certainly a lead designer, someone who could lead the engineering side of things, but not someone who can be that man to take the responsibility and to really push them forward and to stabilize them in a season like this. And I know he's departed the team after, considering it's a strong-ish season. They did get wins again, which they've been lacking for the past couple of seasons. They did challenge up to a point. Though it was 5 races, he still did challenge. But I think the way it crumbled this year, and it's fair to say Red Bull had the better car, but they should have been fighting much longer into the season. I think for that, he has to take most of the blame and should be on the naughty list.
I'm back.
So you're quite happy, throwing him under the bus?
Yep.
Or rather, the Ferrari truck that broke down on the way to the Netherlands.
Absolutely. We've been too kind on this list. And though it should be a nicey, well, he tried his best. He should be on the nice list. No, I've been too kind. He should be on the naughty list. He's not the main reason or the only reason they failed, but he is a big part that they didn't succeed what they should have this season.
Yeah. Anyone who's worked in a very hierarchical company will know shit rolls uphill. Eventually,
yeah,
you can only move the blame so far until there's only one person left, and if you're the person at the top, you have to take the fall. But I do think it's a little bit harsh. But it all depends on what side of it you believe, because we've got the unofficial story of those were the Ferrari goals that he was given. But there's also the unofficial story of he got moved up to team principal because he said he was going to leave if he didn't. And it wildly swings which way to look at it, depending on which one of those you believe.
That's the trouble. Well, we won't, will we? We won't know for sure, but I'm just looking at the chat. A couple of interesting points in there. Raul says because he's not strategy is not his job, he should have fired them. But did not. Also, John Elkann and him were not friends. Also, Mattia is an engineer, not a politician. Mattia Binotto is a fantastic engineer. He will find work in F1.
Yeah.
It's not, and you're right. Strategy isn't his job. But if you are, I'll go back to my days working in Aldi, for example. It wasn't my manager's job to work the till. It was my job to work the till if I was put there. But if there's failings going on at that till or anything like that, I don't want to accuse myself of something, but if there are failings going on there, then it'll be the manager that gets the rap as well as me. He still needs to come in and manage me. Do you know what I mean? And that's not that anything ever happened. That's the job of a manager. Just very quickly as well, thank you so much to Pascal for your super chat, mate, and for your support this year. Massively appreciated. Says, great stream today. Been watching F1 since 1993, so I've seen all 30 seasons of Sauber. It has been quite a ride so far. Delighted that Seidel has joined the team. I think he could be team principal, by the way, by the time Audi come in. And Merry Christmas to Sean, Jonty, Dan, and to all the viewers. Merry Christmas to you, Pascal, as well. And thank you again for your super chat and your support. But yeah, I tend to agree on Andreas Seidel. I think that's a good pick for Sauber, and I can see them bringing somebody interim in for a couple of years, and then Seidel takes over when Audi come in proper. But we shall see, of course. I'm going to end the poll on Binotto. But you can.
I've got a question for Pascal now. It's like, did you just happen to come into F1 in '93 and find a brand new team to just ride along with, or were you already a Sauber fan from other series like, endurance racing, or I think they had some dealings with DTM at the time? Sorry, I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I'll keep it out and chat and see what he says. Just to let people know on the vote, 54% have put Mattia Binotto on the naughty list and 45% have put him on the nice list. So pretty close, fairly close in the end. The closest of all of them, I think. But having said what I said earlier, I tend to actually agree with what you say, Jonty, that it kind of depends which theory or story you believe, really, doesn't it? Because it does completely change the perception depending on which one you believe. But he'll find work somewhere. Somebody will pick him up. Maybe Audi on the engineering side might not be a bad place for him, somewhere like that. I don't think he'll be in team principal role anywhere. But but you never know. Stranger things have happened. If you have any questions, now is the time to start popping them in chat. We're going to do a good half hour of Q&A and then wrap it up for the year from there. Please do leave a like as well. 73 likes, 173 watching. As I said last week, the channel is doing its annual woe is me, it's all over, I'm dying, because the season's finished. So every single like, comment, chat interaction, super chat are massively appreciated. So please do drop a like. And if you are watching the stream later, just as a few people did last week, just pop a little comment in saying hello. Really does help the algorithm in just because it does. December's a great time to be a content creator unless you're an F1 content creator. And then it's not quite so good, particularly on this channel with it being quite reactionary and whatnot. So yeah, thank you very much for your support as well this year. But please do drop a like. Massively appreciated. There is a question I wanted to start with actually, while you guys get yours in the chat. It came from Jake, who was sharing his thoughts on Kimi's final win in Austin 2018 earlier. It says, question for you. Do you feel this boon in F1 popularity will wane at some point? No doubt Liberty Media has done a great job at tapping into the American market. I think some fans are now in for the long haul, but I imagine there are many that are a bit more casual, and when the next cool thing comes along, they'll be gone. So how long does this massive popularity last? I really like that question because it made me think about what Liberty have done, Drive to Survive, the fans that's brought in. You look at taking it to new markets, trying to break America, if you like. It's definitely growing over there. And I was thinking about things I've said on this stream and also things I've said to some family members who have recently got into F1 this year. They watched Drive to Survive for 2021 and they've kind of come into F1 with this idea that 2021 is the rule, whereas the reality is 2021 was the exception and not the rule in Formula One. 2022 was much closer to what F1 tends to be like than what we saw last year. And I think there'll be a lot of fans who will stick around and love it no matter what and just love the racing, love the stories, will get into the history. But I think there will be some fans who, after this season, will go, oh, no, that was a bit boring. I don't think I'll bother. That maybe I'm wrong, but that's just the feeling I get. But then that's perhaps the same as everything, isn't it, Dan? You get into something, you go, this is amazing. And then if you have a second season of it and you go, oh, actually, that was crap, I won't bother. I was trying to think of an example off the top of my head, actually. Probably Drive to Survive, funnily enough.
Yeah, I do kind of agree with you. And I think even Drive to Survive, I think especially the most recent season, there was far more criticism because I think people are realizing that it is over dramatized, and people that watched Formula One beforehand may have already thought it was dramatized, but thought it was a bit of fun, a nice way of introducing new fans. I think now there's much more of an understanding that is very much not Formula One. And your point, I really enjoy the fact that last year was not the exception. It was the exception. Sorry, goodness me, it was the exception. Last year that was such an incredible year, but the likelihood is we won't see that again for a very long time. And I think that partnered with the fact that we came into this year with the narrative that it's going to be so much closer, the racing is going to be so much better, no one's going to know where the order is, and Williams could be at the front, Aston Martin could be at the front, Ferrari could be at the back. And the fact that very quickly it turned into, oh no, it is Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari at the front. It is Williams at the back. The midfield's slightly different, but for the most part, it's the same. I think there's been a bit of an awakening this year from a lot of newer fans that, okay, maybe it's not going to be this incredible season every single year. My worry, though, isn't so much that, but is more so that I think some of the older fans may start to be pushed away from the sport a little bit. I think it's great that we've got races in new places, but the calendar is getting a bit out of hand now with the amount of Grand Prix in a season. I'm obviously someone who's not a huge fan of sprint races, but I think considering there's things on the Friday now that you want to watch qualifying, you want to get it in there, but there's Friday, there's Saturday, and there's Sunday. I think that's confusing for older fans. I think it's also confusing for some newer fans. So I think Formula One just has to be careful of that, not to lose its loyal fans that they've had for years and years in an aid to bring in newer fans that may have a little bit more internet awareness, if that makes sense. So I think there's a lot of strategy that needs to go on that they need to be very, very careful of going forward. But yeah, I think there's been a recent boom. I think that will start to die down a little bit, but not for a few more years, because there's no doubt F1 does do a great job on social media. Drive to Survive is a big pull. There's also this Formula One film coming out. Is it Brad Pitt and Lewis Hamilton's also involved? So that also might help as well. But again, there is that Sky deal. That certainly won't help newer fans coming into Formula One. So it's a really interesting question, but I am slightly nervous about it going the opposite direction in the next few years.
No, I am listening.
Yeah.
It's like that's all I wasn't listening. Like, oh yeah, whatever. No, I was listening. I just like, yeah, you just got me thinking, Dan. What do you reckon, Jonty?
But Dan's been talking so long, I forgot the question.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. It's because I've not been here for so many months. That's why I need to get it in.
Yeah, it's very difficult in many respects, and I, in all honesty, can't say too much about the more recent seasons because I watched the first 2 series of DTS, and I lasted 3/4 of an episode of the third one. It was like I can't deal with this anymore. I really couldn't. It's just so overly faked and dramatized with things in the wrong place and adding atrocious big boomy sound effects over gentle taps on the wall. It's like, what's that doing there? I think the one that really put the end to DTS watching for me was Grosjean's crash in 2020.
Yeah, they made it look like he was in the barrier for 9 hours, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. The way that they edited it and cut it and whatnot. By the time he got out of there wouldn't have been enough of him left to fill a matchbox. It's like, come on, we know it was a long time. 29 seconds to be in there. It was a genuinely long time, but they made it way over the top. And it's like, oh, I can't put up with that anymore. I really can't. And I'm sure it will continue to bring new people in, but I think everyone who's critical of it, including me, needs to remember they've got a specific target audience. This is out and out designed to grab the attention of people aged, 14 to 23, around about that. So, the rest of us who are a bit older and a bit more experienced watching F1, or a bit, maybe not experienced, but a bit more in depth, we like to see as much as possible. We watch the practice sessions and all the rest of it. Just need to accept that's how new people are going to go in, and we need to sort of help or be open to getting them into the rest of it and not just the wham bang surprise excitement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly the point I was going to make. Is if you watch every practice, every qualifying, every race, you watch all the build up, all the stuff afterwards, you watch all the interviews and the stuff the teams do, you can spot when things are out of order. You can spot when something's being pushed, like a rivalry that isn't a rivalry, or something's been over dramatized, and it is difficult to watch. But you're right, Jonty, that we are not the target audience. And it's very good at bringing in, like I say, the relatives of mine who've just started watching, got into Formula One because of Drive to Survive. The only thing I would say is perhaps some of those that have been watching one race should stop telling people that have been watching 40 years why they're wrong. That doesn't, and you know the app I'm talking about. It's like, watch a bit more before you start telling teams and drivers they're wrong, and etc. But that's just me being old man me, I'm afraid. Sorry. It does annoy me.
Yeah, that does get annoying.
I don't mind people saying like, oh, I disagree because, but you don't go to a Peter Windsor, whatever you may think of Peter Windsor, mad respect for him, but whatever you may think of him, you don't go to him and say, you're wrong, when he's literally in the paddock, has been watching 100 years and you've been watching 100 minutes. It's like, just calm down, take a step back, ask. Do you know what I wish? Do you know what? I'm on one now. What I wish more on Twitter is if people ask questions to people like me or you or Stuart or Peter Windsor or somebody, rather than just going on the attack. Just ask a question. You might learn something. But anyway, Yeah, absolutely. You know, breaking news: Williams has sacked Paddy Lowe, gives Jack chills. Great episode if you haven't seen it of Drive to Survive. Brilliant. The best one by a mile. After that, not even. In fact, don't even watch the rest of it. Just watch that clip. Just after Will Buxton says, "Bye, Paddy." Just listen and just that moment. That's all you need in Drive to Survive. Let's see. Let's get some questions in. Raoul wants to know what's going on at Williams. It feels not good. Thoughts on what is happening there? Somebody said something. Somebody sent me a message, or it was in a comment section or something about Dorilton are already. This is pure speculation. Do not take this as gospel. Dorilton are already accepting that Williams isn't a long-term thing for them, which isn't a massive surprise given they are an investment thing. They're not going to be in it for the long haul, are they? And they might be looking to offload it already. So it does sound like, even if you ignore that rumor, whatever, there does feel like there's something going on behind the scenes at Williams. And I'm wondering if, and this, I'll be honest, this could be heart ruling head, maybe more out of hope than expectation, whatever cliche you want to use, that maybe there's something going on with Porsche now that, or Porsche, sorry, now that they're not getting involved with Red Bull. Maybe there's a deal to be done there, which would be good, because I still think Williams should have gone for that Honda deal when McLaren threw it away. It's always going to bug me, that one. And I think maybe there's something there rumbling. I don't know, Jonty. It's just a feeling. I quite like to see Williams get that big manufacturer backing and try to make some progress, because this year wasn't horrific, but it wasn't great.
Yeah, I mean, that's always one of those type of things that's going to be incredibly hard to make a call on, even with hindsight. I mean, yes, there is a very reasonable call on saying that, you know, Williams should have gone for the Honda deal after it collapsed with McLaren, like Red Bull did. However, would Honda have been getting the relevant feedback from Williams, or the more reliable feedback from Williams like they were getting from Red Bull, to assist with the continued development? You know, they could have had it and it still ended up crap because they weren't able to tell Honda what they needed to know, or come up with the aero solutions for cooling intake to make it work. Whereas we know Red Bull very much can in the aero department. Yeah, it's incredibly hard to call either way. They do need something big like that instead of sort of bouncing from, well, it feels like they're bouncing from hedge fund to hedge fund for rich people to have a play, and then when it doesn't work out, they pass it on to someone else. And that's not doing them any favours at all. They do need something solid and definitely long-term, as in at least 5 years. You know, but if reports the last few days believe, it's definitely not going to be Porsche. We already now know it's not going to be Audi. Anyone else? Andretti?
Ford?
But if it was Andretti, then the Williams name is gone, 100%.
Yeah. Well, unless they do an Andretti Williams or a Williams Andretti, but I'm going to say something potentially controversial. I don't think I'd be too sad to see the Williams name gone now, because whilst it is a great legacy for Sir Frank, it's not Williams anymore, is it? It's not that family-owned. It's Williams in name, and a lot of people there that have worked at Williams for a long time, of course there are, but it's Williams in name, and that's basically it now. So I wouldn't be as gutted to see that name go as I would have been if Andretti had bought it directly from Frank Williams, for example. So I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's a fair call, to be honest. You know, they haven't really done much. The last podium was under Claire.
Yeah.
But the last time they were properly challenging, you know, throughout a year was the glory days of Frank and Patrick Head. So, yeah. Going to change my opinion on that a bit slightly now you mentioned that, when maybe it would be better to let the name go out to pasture.
Josh says same could be said for McLaren, and same argument because the Bruce McLaren thing. But the only thing I would say is McLaren's more than an F1 team, isn't it? I know Williams do other things, but they've got a lot of other projects on, so that's kind of a bigger name, if that makes sense. Williams still has that feel of the old garage teams, which is kind of what they were, weren't they, when they came in? F1 was a bit bigger then, I guess, but it's just not got the same feel of it. McLaren feels like a brand, Williams feels like a family team, but the family aren't there anymore, and maybe we could have said goodbye to it, but I totally get why it's still there, and it is a nice nod to the family. What else we got in chat? I saw something I wanted to say. Yeah, you go, Jonty, while I just try and find that question.
I was going to say, McLaren have been quite successful with the high-performance road cars business. Very, very successful even. So it would be much more difficult for them to change name, as, a mass company. With the success they've had at this point, it'd be like, asking Hyundai to change their name or something.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I can't find it. I had a question. I think it was it Max who asked it.
Oh, there's a few further up.
There it is, yeah. So Max says, dream F1 broadcasting lineup, hosts, pundits, pit lane reporter and commentators. You don't have to go quite that far, Dan, but I mean, obviously you want to be lead commentator, don't you? That's obvious.
No, I think I'd make too many mistakes, to be quite honest with you. I'd rather watch and enjoy the race. I think... See, I do love Alex Jakes, would be my main commentator. I think he's brilliant, and I really think he deserves the step up to the Sky role. And then alongside him, I do have a soft spot for DC. And I know people are going to shout that I've not picked Martin Brundle, but considering I was always a free-to-view lad, never had Sky up until a couple of years ago, it was always DC. So that's quite nostalgic for me. So, yeah, Alex Jakes and DC, and then in the pit lane, pretty much anyone who's not on the current Sky team will do for me. Yeah, I'll have Jonty. You know what? Jonty would be a bit like Ted, I feel, would ask the questions we all want to know. So I think Jonty and Ted as a duo together, that would do just nicely.
Yeah, you think Ted winds people up, you've seen nothing yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you would both wind each other up, which also would be quite enjoyable.
Yeah. But I can tell you exactly who goes alongside Alex Jakes. And Sean already knows. Davide Valsecchi. Yes, that is brilliant. That is perfect. And he still hasn't listened to me. I'm desperate for him to just make a YouTube channel and just record and just commentate over random assorted bits of sport. Snooker, golf, baseball, American football, sailing, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Didn't Murray Walker do that for snooker?
Yeah, well, do you remember Murray Walker doing that?
Yeah, for snooker, didn't he?
It was hilarious. Yeah, it was brilliant. It was hilarious. But no, him doing that was awesome. True. Oh, God damn it. Vignesh, why would you do that? James Hinchcliffe has really taken on the pundit role really well for Indy. So there's another choice.
See, it depends. I mean, I assume we're talking people that can still, because obviously my fantasy dream lineup is the one that we had for so many years, Murray Walker and Martin Brundle. But I say so many years, it wasn't that many, was it really, thinking back? But I do like Alex Jakes. So he has got to be in there. I would keep Martin Brundle, but I'd rotate him with somebody like a Jenson Button. Someone who's driven these cars relatively recently and has a bit more up-to-date experience, because I think that's important. Maybe a Nico Rosberg, now he's allowed back in the paddock. Somebody like that. Ted's in there. In fact, Ted can host it, he can pundit it, and he can do his pit lane reporting as well, because I absolutely love that guy. I could watch him all day long. I don't care. Quite surprised you didn't pick Simon Lazenby, Dan, as your as your host. I know how much of a massive fan you are of his. I mean, who would your host be? I'm gonna be. I don't know how people feel, but I kind of wouldn't mind seeing Jake Humphries back hosting.
Yeah, that's a really strong pick. Yeah, no, I'm just going to agree with you on that one. I'm really struggling to think of Someone
Yeah.
else, I think Alex. No, Steve. What's his name
Jones?
on Channel 4? Steve Jones. That's it. Thank
He's
you.
too young and down with the kids for me. I need grumpy old men in charge if I can.
I like Steve Jones. But yeah, Jake Humphries was brilliant. I think he's even doing a good job now for BT Sport. So yeah, I'm not going to argue that one.
Yeah, chat's making this so much more difficult because I keep throwing out all these great names that I hadn't thought. Sam Collins is good. Naomi Schiff's good. Jolyon Palmer's good. Danica Patrick's good. It's really awkward. But I did just go and look it up for you, Sean. Do you know how long Murray and Martin were commentating together?
We started commentating in 97, so I assume about 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Murray finished in 2001.
It feels
That's
like a
really
long
short
time, doesn't it? It feels like longer. Because they were that good. So I was still talking about them. So that's probably why. I was just scrolling back for some more questions. I want to get quite a few in if we can. So I might do some quick fire ones in a bit. So if you've got some that are easy to give quick fire answers to, then do. Ajinka says...
I found a good one.
I'll do this one quickly because I found it, John. Then I'll keep your one on tap. But Ajinka just wants to know, do you think without as many races it could have been closer this season?
No.
I mean, it would have been mathematically,
quick
wouldn't
fire,
it?
isn't it?
Yeah, it would have been mathematically because there'd have been fewer races, so Max would have picked up fewer points. But I still think, you look at that table that's come up on stream now. Leclerc and Sainz won 4 races between them in the first half of the season. Verstappen and Perez won the rest. So even if you shorten the season down to, say, Singapore or Japan as a finale, Verstappen and Perez have Verstappen still disappeared with it, and Red Bull have as well. So no. I don't think it would have been.
Yeah.
But also, can we go back to 20 races a season? That's fine by me.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you take out the most recently added races, you've got Saudi Arabia, Return of Imola, Miami, and Netherlands. Verstappen won all of them. So even without them, yes, it's closer, but he's still over 50 points ahead.
Mechanized Chaos says, bringing Craig Charles. Hell yeah. I started watching Red Dwarf through again randomly. God, that show's good. Jack says Man City or Liverpool. Man City. Max says Messi or Ronaldo. Well, I'm going to have to go Messi now, aren't I? And are you going to
that's
Eurovision
not a question
next
anymore.
year?
That's been settled.
Well, yeah. Are you doing Eurovision next year? Asked Max. I'm hoping to. See what the tickets cost first.
Oh yeah,
we could hike them. But I thought it'd be quite good if we all went.
Live stream it.
Live stream on the F1 word. See how people feel about that.
All the predictions people drunk out their brains at Eurovision.
Predicting the winner, and we'd all be wrong.
Yeah.
What was the question you spotted, Jonty?
From Mary Hove. What team's Christmas party would you rather attend?
McLaren.
Oh, what? Really?
I may be 36 years old and Lando Norris may be like 19, but have you seen that guy drunk and DJing? He's hilarious. I would love to sit and get drunk with Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo and all the stuff they get up to on social media. I think that'd be great fun. Daniel Ricciardo has to be there before he leaves, of course. Just so I could feel young for half an hour, really. I know I'm 36. I know that's not old, but God. Who would you go for there, Jonty, if not McLaren?
Haas.
Really?
Ultimately, they're an American team, so there's a good chance that it'll be in Vegas.
Or barbecue. Ooh. Food.
Say that's a reasonable shout.
What about you, Dan? You'll say Haas because you're just a fanboy of Haas.
Well, I was actually going to go for Alpha Tauri because I just love the idea of seeing Yuki in that kind of environment. I just think that would be such a spectacle. So that's it. I would just like to see Yuki Tsunoda on some sort of night out.
Keep track of him, though, because he's a bit short, bless him. You soon lose him. Leah says, as an American, Eurovision is deeply, deeply confusing. I can confirm, Leah, as a European, Eurovision is deeply, deeply confusing. Mercedes Party, they tend to give out absolutely beautiful IWC watches as gifts, says Ajinka, which is a good shout. Williams, says David, Albon and Latifi seems to be great guys to just relax and have fun with. That's fair. Or, bring in Sargent as well. Yeah. I'm surprised nobody. Well, KMS boss has said Red Bull, but I think if you're going for the food, then Red Bull's the team to go to, isn't it? You'll get some special food there, that's for sure. There'll be plenty of it. Sorry, let's not get into that. It's a Christmas stream. Basil says James Hunt was ace. Absolutely was.
Also, if it was 2009 or earlier, then Red Bull, because that's when they were still fun.
They're not fun now. They're less fun, aren't they? Because they're winning, so they've got a bit more sponsors and all that. You've got to be a bit more well behaved, haven't you? I suppose, but I still find them quite fun. Yeah, corporate. That's a good word. Yeah. Try to find some questions, some quick fire ones. Williams Andretti will be a marketing genius if they can compete for 5th, 6th, says Raul. I was thinking about that today. The ability to use Toro Rosso in 2018 as a test bed was crucial for Honda's development. Good point. Which also is why I'm surprised Alpine haven't pushed to get, I suppose they were with Piastri, but pushed to get Williams on Renault engines. So they've got somewhere to test a few bits and get some more feedback. They've got some pace in that car, but they have not got the reliability. David says if Vettel didn't crash out of the 2017 Singapore Grand Prix, do you think he would have been champion? Felt like we got over the toughest races for the SF70H, Spa and Monza, and headed to tracks that suited the car more. I don't think so, honestly, David, because I'm just looking at the results now. Hamilton, after that DNF, second in Malaysia, wins in Japan and the US. Seb only won in Brazil, and he was quite a way off in the end, so I don't think so. But he also had the spark plug failure, didn't he, in 2017 in Japan? So that probably did as much damage as Singapore. But that Singapore first corner. Not even first corner. It wasn't even make it to the corner, did they? Before it all kicked off.
No.
Basil says, where does this year's Ferrari rank on the list of best looking F1 cars of all time? I tell you,
it's high.
Just as that hideous thing comes up on stream from like 2012 or whatever it is with that bloody step nose, it's a gorgeous car, isn't it? Even with the Baby Bell sculpting around the side pods, it's a beautiful car. Really nice shade of red. I do like a glossy Ferrari, but you know, if they're going to keep doing that, I can stick with that matte. The only thing I would like is they ran it for the special livery, is just to have that yellow Ferrari across the rear wing permanently. I'd quite like to see that come back. Where would it rank for you, Dan? Top. Say top.
Well, you know, I think the Haas looked a bit better this year than the Ferrari, but it's a stunning car. No, it's got to be one of the nicest cars for a few years now. I mean, I feel the Mercedes look nice this year, and Red Bull's always difficult because it's an iconic livery. What? Which one? What, Jonty? Red Bull or Mercedes? Yeah, I like the Mercedes this year. Did you not?
It's hideous.
Oh,
it was hideous, and then they smacked fluorescent yellow on it and bright blue on it.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks lovely. No. Either way, we're talking about Ferrari, and the Ferrari is the best on the grid this year. And yeah, I feel I'd put it in top 5 of all time, maybe top 10, top 5, a little high, that kind of range.
I just feel like a bit told off. Like, shut up, Grandad, I'm talking.
Year. Yeah. Second of the year is the Alpha.
Yeah.
My word, did they get that livery spot on?
Oh, the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Few people have slept on that. Not got the love that it deserves, I think. And I will say, actually, the Haas livery, getting rid of the sponsorship livery they did a good job with that. It's only red and white, I know, but they did a really good job on that. But yeah, I agree on the Alfa. I'm just trying to think of really bad liveries. The McLaren one, I agree with you, Jonty, is just... I mean, first of all, which one? But secondly, not a fan of the McLaren one at all. The Aston looked good. The Alpine, I didn't rate that one. They just slapped pink on the side pods, basically in the rear wing and the front wing. The Williams was nice until they started taking paint off it.
Yeah, but I wish that there would be a bigger partnership with Duracell, because that black and copper looks great on the top. And I know it works just the round intake sort of as a little mini battery, but it's a great colour combination. I'd love to see them really go full beans with that.
I saw somebody asking about circuits, and we always like talking about circuits. And I'm not going to be able to find it now. Oh, that'll do. MD Game says, what track do you miss and would bring back to replace one on the current calendar? Sepang. And I would replace, out of all the ones we've got, it would probably be one of the newer ones. Probably Jeddah. I'm not a big fan of Jeddah. Yeah, that's going to be my shout. Sepang for Jeddah. Work the logistics out yourself. What about you, Jonty?
I would replace Abu Dhabi. I hate everything about that track. It is garbage. Even with the changes, it's done nothing to improve the racing. In actual fact, it's actually made it worse, that changing the end of the second DRS zone into a banked corner.
That's a weird one, isn't it?
My arse. Banked. It's got like 1 degree on it. I would replace it with literally anything we've lost except Sochi.
Yeah, Dan?
See, part of me wants to say Suzuka, but Suzuka was okay this year, and Jeddah is absolutely gopping, so it has to be Jeddah. I don't think... I think it's the worst track of all time, Jeddah. I absolutely hate it. So Jeddah's gone for me, and I love your shout of Sepang, Sean, but I don't want to steal it and be boring. So I will say the Nürburgring.
Ooh, original Grand Prix layout. Or both.
The full thing, the Nordschleife, we should have a 1-lap Grand Prix.
Do the sprint around the Nordschleife.
Yeah.
Half a lap.
Pole position is the one that gets back alive.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Interesting. I'm just trying to think of some other interest other than just go with the easy option of Sepang. I'll tell you what then, Dan. Do you think they'll replace China this year, or do you think we'll just have 23 races? Officially, the calendar that's been rubber stamped is 23, but they can always add one in that 4-week gap if they need to, which I think because it's a 4-week gap, my gut is telling me they'll have to replace it, or they'll try to replace it. But do you think they will? And if so, who with? Or what with?
Yeah, I feel they will, just because it seems like for a few years now they've really tried to push this narrative of the most races ever. Though there was a bit of pushback at the end of last season, it seems like they're really convinced that's the way forward. So I think that, again, like you say, partner with a 4-week gap, that they could tweak a few races here and there, but I think they'll just replace it with Turkey again. It's happened so many times of late. I think they've been good races in Turkey. It just seems like I don't want to say a no-brainer, because I think most people would say we've already got far too many races, but Formula One, with the way they think, I've just got a gut feeling they'll go for it.
It worked.
I didn't consider it until you mentioned it then, Dan. But they've actually sort of announced the biggest calendar ever for 3 years in a row and have failed to actually make it happen 3 years in a row.
I was just going to say that Istanbul makes sense logistically, so yeah. And Raoul makes a fair point. It's a 4-week gap, rubber stamped. Whoever pays the most money will get the slot. That's why it's been made official. Could easily be that one. Rapide, just a couple more in chat if you've got any, throw them in there. But I'm just going to read one from Rapide on Twitter, who says, what area do you think has each team to improve most on? How do you rank the power units this season, both in terms of power and reliability? And what video piece of content that you created are you most proud of? This year, not a lot, to be honest, mate, because I've not done a lot of content this year. But thank you for the question. I appreciate that. There'll be more this coming year, 2023, that needs to be. I need to get my head out my arse and get on with it, quite frankly. I'll go with the power unit question, though. How do you rank the power units this season, both in terms of power and reliability? Power, Renault is right up there. Reliability, it's right at the bottom, which is probably their biggest problem. Could have cost them fourth in the constructors this year. I feel like I think quite close between Honda and Ferrari. Red Bull powertrains and Ferrari. And I think Mercedes probably I would put third fastest this year, but also probably the most reliable, or absolutely the most reliable. I mean, Hamilton's DNF in Abu Dhabi was the first mechanical DNF of the season for the team. So I'm just trying to work out. So I put Mercedes third on power. Maybe fourth on power? Fourth on power, I suppose. But I don't know.
I'd say third. I'd say fourth, yeah.
Yeah. But in reliability, probably first.
First by a long way, because out of 48 allotted power unit elements across the 4 teams, as a whole, Mercedes engines used 50.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Maybe Renault third, bottom on reliability though. Third on performance, bottom on reliability. And then it's between Ferrari and Honda.
Oh, Ferrari bottom on reliability by a mile.
Do you think?
All 4 of the Ferrari powered teams were
Alfa in particular
were below Alpine.
Okay.
Alpine. And in power unit elements. I know power unit elements isn't strictly including DNFs and all the rest of it, but it's the only accurate metric we've got to go from.
I suppose Alpine would be bottom if they had more than one team, kind of thing. Ferrari got several teams, haven't they? Which adds that one up. So, who's got the most powerful engine then, Dan? that bus that's coming there just threw you under.
I feel it's got to be Honda and Red Bull, just for how dominant that car was for so many races this year on the straights, Monza and Spa in particular.
Yeah,
that's not unreasonable.
There you go. That's that one sorted then. Right, a couple more questions in chat, and then we're going to round up for today. And for not just for today, for the year. I can't believe we're a week away from Christmas, and I don't feel even remotely festive. And that is not like me. I don't know what is going on. If you go to Africa, Kailami or a new track, asks Jake. I'd like to see Kailami because that was the first race I ever saw, so that would be quite nostalgic for me, seeing F1 race back there. But some might argue a new track. Jonty?
Maybe.
Kailami's all right as a track, isn't it? It's up to scratch, isn't it? So makes sense to go there.
Yeah, it does. It's just how it might be received. A lot of people don't like the idea.
Okay.
I would love to have it back.
Max says, should F1 return to the rainbow tyre compounds, Dan?
No. I don't really need to add much more. No, it shouldn't.
Yes.
I mean, it's a lot easier, I think, than C1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But no, it shouldn't.
So it's easier, but they should keep the more complicated one in your view.
Well,
I love you, mate. I've missed you so much.
They're all difficult. They're all so ridiculously over the top, and there's no need for it. So
you know what isn't difficult?
Answering the question that's absolutely fried my brain.
Blacks and reds.
Yes, exactly.
And they're either scrubbed or sticker. That's it.
Simple as that. Yeah. And see, I liked it. I liked that we had the ultra soft, hyper soft, super soft. To get a bit ridiculous, didn't it, in the end, actually, no, saying that. The flaccid and the super hard and the, I liked all that kind of stuff, but I sort of see why they tried to simplify it a little bit. So, yeah. It's fine. It's fine as it is. The only thing that gets frustrating sometimes when I do my tyre talk is realising that one week your soft tyre is the softest and then the following week it's the hardest. I understand how that works, but sometimes you're like, what? Really? I'm going to go through very quickly. So we've got to go on, Jonty.
I think the only thing that I would like to at least see them trial. So I'm not sure if it would add to the excitement or not. But removing all of the colouring on the tyres. It's like teams know because it's like written inside or what have you. But commentary, on-screen data, people watching, no idea who's on what. So it keeps that mystery. You have no idea how long someone's going to last on a set. You have no idea how quick someone will be coming out of the pits. Just to keep that bit of mystery. You know, they are trying to push the show element of it. There's a way of doing it which affects absolutely nothing of the actual racing. And the teams between themselves won't know, so it might just play a little bit more amusing with strategy.
Yeah. But I feel like you said in there somewhere probably never going to happen. But I'm just thinking about all the AWS graphics we're starting to get and all of that. And I think they seem to want as much information going back to people sat at home as possible, don't they? So it would definitely add a bit more intrigue to it. But Max, I can't see.
No.
No, Max, get out. No, we're not one set of tyres for a whole race like they used to do. No.
Literally the stupidest rule, even idea for a rule that's ever happened.
Super quick answers for this one, then we're going to wrap it up for today. I've now lost it again. Somebody, I'm sorry, I've not spotted your name. It's just disappeared again. There we go. Pascal, your best memory of the 2022 season, Dan.
K-Mag pole in Brazil, especially in particular. I mean, the pole was great, but when he's in the garage and he gets out the car and he's sat on top of it and he's smacking the car, everyone's cheering. Easy for me. That is K-Mag's pole. Best moment of the season.
His cross-eyed look to camera as well.
Yeah.
Jonty. Best memory of the season.
Because Dan chose that one, I'm gonna say Vettel and Alonso at the end of Japan, side by side across the line.
Nice.
And it was a fan that got who'd waited for years and years to get a photo of his favourite driver, and he gets the photo of the entire season.
Wow, that's amazing. What a moment that must be for them. Yeah. I want to say Johnny Herbert telling Max Verstappen he's world champion in Japan, because that was just so bloody stupid.
No, I'm not.
I think I'm going to go with that battle between Leclerc and Verstappen for DRS in Jeddah. The fact they both slam the wheels on, locking up because they don't want to be the last one across that line to get the DRS down the straight. That was so much fun to watch. And I just remember being like, what the hell are you doing? This is ridiculous. It was great stuff.
Yeah, that was hilarious and stupid at the same time.
I'm not reading that, Max. You're only going to trap one kind of bot in if we read that, so we're not going to do it. David says, AWS Insights, George Russell has 2 eggs and 3 Canadian bacon slices with a side of toast for breakfast, minus 0.003 faster than Hamilton. That's about right, isn't it? Yeah. But I think we're going to leave it there for all of that. We've been going well over 2 hours now. So,
really?
Yeah. Thank you to, we'll go alphabetically, Dan. I know it's been a while, mate, and I know from conversation we've had, you've not been able to pop on over and say hi as much as you'd like to, but it's always lovely to chat to you, especially for the Christmas streams, because it is nice and chill. But thank you for your help and your support and all that this year. It's been much appreciated, mate, and it's always good to talk to you, even if we are both a bit daft.
Yeah, understatement right there. No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me once again. It's been so much fun this evening. It's been a good year of F1, but fingers crossed next year it's going to be even better. So I hope everyone has a great Christmas, and I'll see you in the new year. Yeah, you too, mate. Have a fantastic Christmas. I know I'm this time next week, I'm going to be drunk on my mum's sofa. And she'll be like, are you going home yet? Like, if you give me a lift. She doesn't know that bit yet. Thank you as well to you, Jonty. It's again, always great to talk to you. I know we both love these waffly, chatty, random streams where we end up where we end up. But it's same goes for what I said to Dan. Thank you for your support this year, for your chats, for your
you're talking me down at times as well when I need it, the slack. But also, thank you so much for that awesome weekend we had back around Monaco and Indy. It honestly feels like you were here a week ago, and it's been so long. But such a great weekend. But thank you very much, mate.
Yeah, it's been 7 months, mate.
I know.
Yeah, it was a fantastic weekend, and it won't be as long until we do it again. And thanks for having me on. It's always, like you say, we love these waffle streams, especially when there's more than 2 of us, Dan along or whoever else wants to turn up. Forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, hopefully next year things are a bit closer and more mixed up, because obviously with how the aero cap goes, very, very different with all the testing. Just, it's going to be a lot of fun. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next year, and all 3 of us will be in predictions at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, mate, and I'm sure I'll talk to you soon. Have a great Christmas as well.
Yeah, and you and all of chat. Merry Christmas.
Thank you to Jonty, to Dan as well, and thank you to you guys in chat, not just for tonight, but for your support over the course of the season and this year. I can't believe it's Christmas next week. Somebody get me a Santa hat and make me feel festive. This is ridiculous. I really don't feel it at all, but it's going to be, I will get into the festive spirit. A few more beers and I'm sure I'll be there. Thank you for your support, like I say, this year. Patrons on screen now. That'll be updated on the 1st of every month for anyone that's come in since. But yeah, thank you for your support as well in 2022. Lots to come in 2023. Like I said earlier, I'm going to get my head out my arse. More content, more live streams. Might bring back the midweek streams as well, because I want to get this channel back to where it used to be. But we'll worry about that in the new year. I am going to disappear now from socials and everything until into January now. However, there are videos scheduled to go out. So Tuesday this week at 4 p.m. GMT is the Alpine Waffle, as I keep calling them. Thursday, again, 4 p.m. GMT is the Mercedes Waffle. And then next week, which is New Year week, or the week after New Year week, the 27th and the 29th will be Ferrari and Red Bull, respectively, at 4 p.m. GMT. And that'll be it then for the year, and I'll be back with some new stuff in January. You can follow me on social media. Like I said, I'll be quiet over there from now on in, but I'll be back again next year. Absolutely will. Please do leave a like before you go as well. 4 away from 100. Let's see if we can get to 100 before you disappear. Do subscribe as well if you're new, ready for next season. Aston Martin have announced their launch is the 13th of Feb, so it's soon going to be here. It'll be back around pretty damn quickly, and hopefully I'll see some of you at Autosport as well in January, which could be a lot of fun. All that's left for me to do, though, is once again, because I'll keep saying it, is thank you all for your support. It means so much. I can't ever put it into words, so I just keep saying thank you. It's how I deal with things. And to wish you all, if you're celebrating, a very Merry Christmas. If you're not celebrating, then I hope you have a really good holiday season. Get on them films. There's hopefully some good ones on streaming services and all sorts this Christmas. So do enjoy your Christmas and your festive period, and have a great New Year as well. Hopefully 2023 is going to be fantastic. Not just for you guys in life and for me in life, but also for F1 as well. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word in 2022. And until next time, goodbye.